Chapter 2951. Rumble. As Lu Xiaoyu continued to move, a monstrous force began to explode in the surroundings. It was as if a huge mountain was collapsing. Mountain rocks rolled, and the sound of thousands of soldiers and horses galloping could be heard. At this time, the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds had already entered the first level of hell. The commotion caused by Lu Xiaoyu caused everyone to be extremely shocked. They couldn't help but open their eyes and look over. Du Xiaofu, who was rampaging through the crowd of demons, also diverted some of his attention to pay attention to this terrifying movement. Chi La La. Under Lu Xiaoyu's command, an extremely shocking scene suddenly appeared in the sky above the first level of hell. Streaks of bright light appeared one after another, slicing open cracks in the sky. It looked like a broken eggshell, filled with fine patterns. In a place where no one could see, outside the first level of hell, in the boundless starry sky, the orbit of countless stars changed. The energy produced surged out like a tide. This energy finally followed an invisible path and was transmitted to the 18 levels of hell. Rumble. In the first level of hell, a terrifying thunderous sound suddenly appeared. At the center of the terrifying net-like patterns in the sky, an object that looked like a thunderbolt suddenly struck down. However, it contained a variety of complicated energy. It directly fell down and was connected to the light net in Lu Xiaoyu's hand. As the thunderous light flashed down, layers of vast and boundless energy surged in. It was like a raging wave that directly tore the void into pieces. It transformed into a terrifying chaotic state that caused one's scalp to turn numb at the sight of it. This energy was transmitted into the light net in Du Xiaofu's hand in an instant. Swish! In an instant, the light net in Lu Xiaoyu's hand seemed to have eaten a large dose of tonic. In an instant, it expanded thousands of times and quickly spread out, spinning and flying. The huge light net descended like the sky was pressing down. It carried a heavy, vast, and boundless energy. It was earth-shattering, and it pressed down on the 9 great demon generals. Run! There was no need to think at all. The Blood God Demon General, Ming Luo Demon General, Desolate Fiend Demon General, Qi Yen Demon General, Fierce Locust Demon General, Duo Yu Demon General, Luan Su Demon General, Evading Shadow Demon General, and Hun Demon General were all extremely shocked. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was collapsing. It was extremely terrifying. It was not difficult for them to feel the terror of the light net. Once it pressed down on their bodies, it was most likely that they would not have any possibility of escaping. At that time, it was just as Long Xian's words, they were afraid that they would all become little pigs waiting for the slaughter. Their lives, their lives, their lives, their lives, and their lives, they would become the stepping stones on Du Xiaofu's path. Do you all think you can escape? These words coming from Lu Xiaofu Xiao, Lu Xiaoyu, Lu Xiao, Lu Xiao Lu. The 9 great demon generals were like jumping mosquitoes. No matter what they did, they could not escape the suppression of the heavenly net. As the terrifying light net pressed down on them, the 9 great demon generals felt as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them. Layers upon layers of energy rolled over them. It was extremely terrifying. They used everything they had, but they could not break free from this suppression. In a loud rumble, the bodies of the 9 great demon generals were pressed down one after another. At the same time, the light net continued to shrink and shrink. The lines and lines were compressed and became extremely solid. In the end, the light net turned into a transparent sphere, trapping the 9 great demon generals inside. It was impossible for them to break free. How could the 9 great demon generals just sit there and wait for death? Layers upon layers of terrifying attacks landed, trying to break free from this cage. However, what made them disappointed was that Lu Xiaoyu was far too powerful. The layer of seal he set down directly restrained them. After all, this was not the beginning of the ancient era. The 9 great demon generals' abilities were greatly reduced and they were far too weak compared to Lu Xiaoyu. Their continuous attacks only caused the cage to tremble. They could not break free quickly. Lu Xiao, I am not done with you. The red flame demon general screamed crazily, venting the fear in his heart. One day, the demon ancestor will cut you into pieces and make you die without a burial place. The demon general Duo Yu screamed as well, full of hatred towards Lu Xiaoyu. The 9 great demon generals were not going to give up just like that. As they screamed, they continued to attack. On top of the spherical cage, pieces would fall off from time to time, weakening the power of the seal. When these 9 little pigs break free from this cage, who knows which grandma's birthday will be? Looking at the 9 great demon generals' actions, Xiaolong was gloating. One has to admit that when the 9 great demon generals worked together, their abilities were terrifying. Even though the seal was set up by Ling Xian, under their continuous attacks, it was still trembling. However, this kind of exhaustion was extremely small. To truly break free from this seal, who knows how many years it will take? When that time comes, it will be time for these little pigs to break free. Next to Xiaolong, Lu Xiaoyu smiled. After attacking just now, he'd used up quite a bit of energy. His forehead was covered in fine beads of sweat. Suppressing 9 great demon generals at the same time wasn't an easy task. Now, it's up to Du Xiaofu, that brat. Di Batian turned his head and looked at Du Xiaofu, who was in the midst of the crowd. At that moment, the purple-robed youth was fighting with all his might against a number of meditated demon experts. Du Xiaofu was now a second-stage phantom cultivator. His strength was comparable to a peak third-stage meditated cultivator. He was terrifying beyond compare. He waved the heavenly tower of purple gold in his hand again and again, like a real god attacking. His attacks carried with them a boundless aura of ruthlessness and savagery, causing heaven and earth to tremble. It was as if he could stir up all 18 layers of hell. We've placed all our hopes on him. We're all counting on him. Dong Huang Taishuan's expression was equally serious. They all knew of Lu Xiaoyu's plans. Du Xiaofu was the most important factor in the final phase. If they wanted to completely kill Jiangchen, they could only rely on him. Lu Xiaoyu, Xiaolong, Di Batian, Dong Huang Taishuan, Yang Gua, and Lu Xintong didn't plan on doing anything. They would only assist from the side. Every time they saw the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 universes in danger, they'd lend a hand. Most importantly, they wanted to see Du Xiaofu perform alone. Everyone had the same hope. They all hoped that Du Xiaofu would succeed in breaking through that crucial step. Only then would they have enough confidence to fight the final battle against the demons. Those 2 fellows sure ran fast. Suddenly, Yang Gua's lips curled into a faint smile. 2 figures were moving in the direction of his line of sight. It was Dongli Qihuang and Qin Yan. When Lu Xiaoyu had returned earlier, the 2 demon attendants had already noticed the great change in the situation. They'd immediately fled, not stopping at all. The 2 of them were quite crafty, but how could they truly escape pursuit? No matter how fast they fled, they could only live for a short period of time. In the eyes of an expert like Lu Xiaoyu, Dongli Qihuang and Qin Yan's escape seemed so weak and laughable. Leave them all to Xiaofu. We'll relax a little and just watch. Xiaolong smiled faintly. Suddenly he unleashed a terrifying wave of attacks, forcing back several demons on the battlefield and freeing a besieged expert of the 33 heavens. In the following period of time, the 33 heavens and the 3,000 universes engaged in a terrifying battle with the demons. However, what was terrifying was that the majority of the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 universes actually died. On the contrary, on the side of the demons, lives were reaped one after another. Their bodies were turned into blood mist, dying an unnatural death. Lu Xiaoyu, Xiaolong Di Batian, Dong Huang Taishuan, Yang Gua, and Lu Xintong were like gods that walked the world. They stood high and mighty, occasionally attacking. Every time they discovered that the experts of the 33 heavens or the 3,000 universes were in danger, they would unleash a wave of resplendent light, forming a powerful attack that would force the demons back. However, they wouldn't easily take the lives of the demons. They were like 6 formidable guardians that led the people of the 2 great worlds to carry out a terrifying slaughter. For the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 universes, this was a rare experience. They had enough strength to kill without worrying about their lives being taken. The only thing they needed to do was to constantly kill a large number of demons. In such a scene, the experts pushed forward. As the demons fled for their lives, it didn't take long for them to leave the first layer of hell and enter the second layer of hell. Du Xiaofu didn't deliberately chase after Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan. He fought against 3 meditative forgetfulness experts by himself. 2 of the 3 were at the 3rd level of meditative forgetfulness, and the last one was at the 2nd level of meditative forgetfulness. Not long after they entered the 2nd level of hell, the devil at the 2nd level of meditative realm died at Du Xiaofu's hands. He was sliced in half by Du Xiaofu's origin-murdering sky sword, turning into a dense mist of blood that scattered into the void. Kill. The other experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 universes were also in high spirits. They had a terrifying will that was difficult to express. Lu Xiaoyu was like a stabilizing needle that stabilized the sea, stabilizing everyone's hearts. As the demons continued to retreat, it aroused the killing intent of the experts even more. This was a one-sided slaughter. Lives were reaped, and countless demons died. By the time the experts entered the 4th layer of hell, no less than 2 million demons had died. Among them, at least 500,000 were at the immortal realm, and the rest were mostly at the truth-severing and seizing divinity realm. After such a situation appeared, the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 universes had an even easier time killing the demons. In terms of overall strength, they had a huge advantage. The more demons died, the easier it was for them to fight. In the end, Lu Xiaoyu and the others fought less and less, no longer needing to deliberately protect them. Among them, the one that the demons were most afraid of was the purple-robed young man Du Xiaofu. This young man was as terrifying as a god of death. The broadsword in his hand was like the scythe of the god of death, constantly reaping the lives of the demons. By the time they entered the 5th layer of hell, 3 meditative forgetfulness experts and over 100 immortal realm experts had died at his hands. Du Xiaofu's entire body was soaked in fresh blood. It was demon blood, and it emitted a strong, pungent odor. Boss, what we're doing will indeed deal a huge blow to the demons, but won't it take too much time? Why don't we enter the 18th layer of hell first and disturb the demon ancestor to prevent him from recovering too quickly? As they advanced, Xiaolong suddenly spoke to Lu Xiaoyu. His eyebrows furrowed together. To the powerhouses of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds, the greatest threat came from the demon ancestor. As for the 9 demon generals, the 2 demon attendants, and the massive number of other demon powerhouses, they weren't a threat at all. If too much time passed, they wouldn't have entered the 18th layer of hell by the time Jiang Chen recovered. Or rather, Du Xiaofu wouldn't have successfully broken through to the Dao carrier realm. When that happened, they'd be faced with an enormous disaster. Xiaolong naturally didn't want to see that happen. Thus, he felt that it'd be best for his boss to take him, Debatian, and the others directly to the 18th layer of hell and interrupt the demon ancestor's recovery. That was the best plan. There's no hurry. If Jiang Chen wants to recover, he won't be able to do so quickly. Lu Xiaoyu nodded, but didn't immediately agree with Xiaolong. He said, "Let's wait for a while longer. I'm aware of the demon ancestor's movements. There's no need to worry too much." When Xiaolong, Debatian, Donghuang Taishen, Yanghua, and Lu Xintong heard Lu Xiaoyu's words, they all nodded. This guy definitely had absolute confidence that he had everything under control. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said all this so casually. Many years ago, when the heavenly Tao of Shenwu world suppressed the demon gods, Lu Xiaoyu had already planned and made ample preparations, all in order to welcome the return of the demon race. Now that he'd returned, he'd naturally made all the necessary arrangements. He was aware of the demon ancestors' movements at all times. It was precisely because of this that everyone felt increasingly confident. Now, the only thing they had to worry about was Du Xiaofu's condition. Du Xiaofu, that kid, has only cultivated for a few thousand years. Perhaps we're being too harsh by placing all our hopes on him. Debatian suddenly lowered his eyes and said softly. As for Du Xiaofu, Debatian and Donghuang Taishen had developed an extreme admiration for the purple-robed young man after going through the 18 levels of hell. That kid was an anomaly. His cultivation speed wasn't something that ordinary people could compare to. Even the two of them, who'd been around since the birth of the 3,000 boundless worlds, felt a heavy blow when compared to him. In a few thousand years, he'd grown from a mortal who couldn't cultivate to his current level. It was truly unimaginable. Pangu's world had existed for so many years after the Great War against the demons, but not a single person like that had appeared. Even the most outstanding of them couldn't hope to catch up to him. Even the patriarchs of the major forces could only blush in shame when compared to him. Of course, all of this couldn't be helped by Lu Xiaofu. He was the one who led Du Xiaofu's growth step by step, from a lowly person to a powerful one, and eventually to a supreme realm. Everyone could imagine how much pain the purple-robed youth had suffered along the way, how many injuries he had suffered, and how much blood he had lost. To him, even though this journey was glorious, he had to go through unimaginable suffering. It was precisely because of this that Di Batian couldn't help but feel a little sympathetic. He only felt that they were asking too much of Du Xiaofu. I believe that he can do it. It's all because of 3 words. Lu Xiaofu's eyes were incomparably deep as he said aloud. What 3 words? The expressions of the people around him froze. They were extremely curious and looked at him almost in unison, wanting to hear what Lu Xiaofu had to say. Faced with so many pairs of blazing eyes, Lu Xiaofu smiled and spat out 3 words from between his lips. Du Xiaofu. When everyone heard this, they were all stunned. But after a moment, they understood what Lu Xiaofu meant. That's right. He's Du Xiaofu. He can definitely do it. Xiaolong carefully thought about it and said in a low voice. At the side, Di Batian, Donghuang Taixin, and the others nodded when they heard that. Yes, because he's Du Xiaofu, he can definitely do it. After understanding some of that kid's experiences, who would still dare to doubt him? When he was weak, no one believed that Du Xiaofu could become strong, but he did it again and again. Many powerful people's faces were swollen because of him. Many powerful people who were unrivaled and arrogant in the world were trampled under his feet. That was Du Xiaofu. Time after time, he refreshed the world's understanding of him and showed them what it meant to be incredible. Just based on his name alone, it meant that there was nothing in the world that he couldn't do. If he wanted to, he could definitely do it. I'm looking forward to that day. Even if I have to look up to him with reverence, it will still be comforting to see him walk up the altar. Donghuang Taixin suddenly raised his head and was filled with emotions. There was only one Lu Xiaoyu in the world. If there was a second Lu Xiaoyu, it would be a great blessing. As an elder who had lived for countless years, he had been strong for many years, but he still couldn't find the final glimmer of hope. After seeing Lu Xiaoyu surpass him, if he could see Du Xiaofu in the sky and rise again, it would definitely be a great honor in his life. With the help of the path taken by the two of them, he and Di Batian, who had been stuck at the half-step realm of Tao for countless years, would also see more hope for a breakthrough. That day will appear in the near future. When Di Batian heard Donghuang Taishuan's words, his whole body was filled with a special spirit. He felt a little lonely, a little empty, and also a little hopeful. At this time, the two of them were especially looking forward to that day. They wanted to see that day come as soon as possible. They wanted to see how Du Xiaofu would kill the devil ancestor, how he would stand at the pinnacle of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 sectors. They wanted to see how he would stand together with his senior brother Lu Xiaoyu at the highest point, overlooking everything in the world. Chapter 2952. Just the thought of it was enough to make one's blood boil. Let's just wait quietly. He'll definitely succeed. At the side, Lu Xiaoyu smiled as he spoke. After that, no one said anything else. They continued to use the power of their primordial spirits to observe the situation on the battlefield. The demons were fleeing in disorder. Many of their powerhouses had been killed, and their overall strength had been greatly reduced. Under these circumstances, the powerhouses of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 realms were practically suppressing the demons, causing them to be utterly defeated. More and more demons were dying in battle. The situation was beginning to tilt in their favor. Lu Xiaoyu, Xiaolong, Di Batian, and the others attacked from time to time, interrupting the demons' counterattacks. They couldn't fight back at all. In addition, Lu Xiaoyu sealed the 9 demon generals, keeping them trapped in the ball of light. The 9 demon generals attacked again and again, causing the ball of light to tremble violently. However, they couldn't truly break through it. Just as Xiaolong had predicted, it was impossible to say how long it would take for them to break through the seal. Countless powerhouses advanced through the 18 layers of hell. They were incomparably ferocious, accompanied by terrifying slaughter. This was a relatively long process. It was even more time-consuming than when Du Xiaofu and the others first started to advance. By the time they reached the 7th layer of hell, they'd already spent hundreds of years. It's been hundreds of years. I wonder how much Jiangchen has recovered. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but wonder as he hovered in the air after slicing through the body of an immortal demon. He was somewhat worried. Every day was precious, whether to Jiangchen, the 33 heavens, or the 3,000 realms. What worried Du Xiaofu the most was his own cultivation. It could be said that his senior brother, Du Xiaofu, had placed all his hopes on him. However, after hundreds of years of terrifying slaughter, who knew how many demons had died at his hands? Even now, Du Xiaofu still hadn't found a sliver of an opportunity to break through. He'd already reached the peak of the 2nd level of the Void Dao, but when he raised his head, everything was still hazy. He couldn't see anything higher. Carrying the Dao, is to walk one's own Dao. But how can I truly take this step? Du Xiaofu furrowed his brows as he continued to ponder. In these years of battle, he had been constantly thinking about the answer, but he was unable to grasp the most crucial point. Everyone in the world was clear about the concept of carrying the Dao. However, Du Xiaofu felt that it was too difficult to reach that realm after careful calculation. After all, other than the primordial fiend gods, all living beings were born in the world, which was the world created by the fiend gods. In this way, countless living beings would naturally be restricted and restrained by the laws of the heavens and earth. Those who walked on the path of cultivation would have to follow the laws of the heavens and earth and the true meaning of the Grand Tao step by step. In other words, Du Xiaofu and countless other experts were able to reach the highest point in the world and stand above countless creatures. But in the process, they also integrated the power of the world into their bodies step by step. Everything they comprehended was built on the foundation of the power of the world. And the power of the world came from the primordial fiend gods, from Pangu, exalted celestial, demon ancestor Rahu, and so on. Since I want to walk my own Tao, I must first break free from the shackles of others and transcend the restrictions of the heavens and earth. Du Xiaofu thought in his heart as he muttered to himself. Living beings were born in the world and lived under the laws. They lived in the Grand Tao and the laws at all times. If they wanted to survive, they had to follow the true meaning of the laws of the primordial fiend gods. It could even be said that everything a living being possessed was a product of the Grand Tao of the heavens and earth. Under such circumstances, how could one truly break free from the shackles of the heavens and earth and walk out the Grand Tao that belonged to one's own? The advancement of each level brings with it an endless challenge. And the carrying Tao realm is even better than before. Du Xiaofu felt a little vexed. It was no wonder that senior brother Lu Xiaoyu was the only Hotian living being who had reached the level of Tao bearer since the beginning of time. It was because this step was too difficult. It was so difficult that even those old monsters who had lived for countless years could not take such a step. I'd better ask senior brother and the others for advice. Du Xiaofu thought for a while and finally looked at Lu Xiaoyu, Xiaolong, and the others in the distance. He only felt that if he just relied on his own thinking, he did not know how long it would take for him to get an answer. Senior brother was already a carrying Tao realm expert. Xiaolong, Di Batian, Donghuang Taixin, Yanghua, and Lu Xintong could also be considered to have taken a critical step. Their opinions would certainly be of some reference. Thinking of this, Du Xiaofu did not delay any longer. He glanced at the fighting around the battlefield and found that the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds had the absolute upper hand, so he was not worried about anything. Then, his figure flashed and appeared directly beside Lu Xiaoyu. "Junior brother, do you have something to ask?" Du Xiaofu's arrival did not surprise Lu Xiaoyu in the slightest. As soon as Du Xiaofu stood firm, he asked with a smile, as if he had already guessed Du Xiaofu's purpose. Senior brother, I'd like to ask, what is one's own Tao? Du Xiaofu nodded and did not beat around the bush, directly asking Lu Xiaoyu. The concept of one's own Tao was extremely illusory and difficult to grasp. Du Xiaofu could not comprehend the answer he wanted at all, so he could only ask senior brother Lu Xiaoyu. Kid, I'm afraid you've been troubled by this question for a long time, right? Before Lu Xiaoyu could speak, Xiaolong next to him smiled and looked at Du Xiaofu. Yes, ever since I knew this concept, I've been thinking about it. But until today, I realized that the more I think about it, the more obscure it is. It's as if I've fallen into a vicious circle, and I can't get out of it at all. Du Xiaofu told the 6 experts one by one the questions he had thought of. The most important point was that living beings were born between heaven and earth, and they were the products of the great Tao. How could they transcend the great Tao? Could it be that they had to abandon everything in order to be reborn? As his cultivation became deeper and closer, Du Xiaofu became more and more confused, unable to distinguish between things and things. What you think is right, but it's also not right. Lu Xiaoyu looked at Du Xiaofu with a smile on his face, and said to him very patiently, in fact, the concept of one's own Tao is indeed illusory. It's just a vague way of saying that the world has added to it. Just as you said, living beings are born from heaven and earth, and are derived from the great Tao. It's impossible for them to completely escape from everything given by the great Tao. If you think about it carefully, you'll know that the great Tao is derived from the 4 primeval laws of time, space, matter, and soul. These 4 laws have an enormous influence on living beings at all times. If these traces are completely erased, then wouldn't it be equivalent to being obliterated into the dust and ceasing to exist? How could one escape the shackles of heaven and earth and the shackles of the great Tao without life? So, if you want to take that critical step, then you can't completely escape from the great Tao in heaven and go against all the influence of the energy of the world. If you think about it carefully, you'll know that all along the way, the cultivation of every realm is to lay down a solid foundation for the next realm. Moreover, when you reach the next realm, you'll seek a higher breakthrough and possess even stronger strength. According to this train of thought, you can imagine that when you're in the Void Tao realm, you're also laying down the foundation for the Tao Carrier realm. No matter if the next step is to build a strategically advantageous position or to break and rebuild, the foundation is still the same. Lu Xiaoyu said a lot at once, and Du Xiaofu also listened carefully to every word. As he listened, he also pondered over the true meaning behind it. It wasn't just him, even Xiaolong, Di Batian, Donghuang Taixian, Yanghua, and Lu Xintong were listening with fascination. All 5 of them were at the half-step Tao Carrier realm now, and they possessed a trace of their own Tao. So, it wasn't the first time they'd heard what Lu Xiaoyu said, but when they listened to it once more, they were faintly able to comprehend a different meaning. Senior brother, then what should I do? Du Xiaofu thought for a long time, and he asked once more after digesting Lu Xiaoyu's words. He understood the meaning behind Xinxi's words, and it was basically to point out his own misconceptions. Escaping the shackles of heaven and earth wasn't equal to escaping everything that the great Tao had bestowed upon him. What he needed to do was to find a breakthrough in his current cultivation base. This kind of breakthrough could be like in the past, where he would take a step further from his original foundation, or he could treat his current cultivation base as a giant mountain and cause it to collapse and transform into a brand new appearance. This was the true meaning of the Tao Carrier realm. Let me give you a few examples, and perhaps you'll understand a little. Hearing Du Xiaofu's question, Lu Xiaoyu had no intention of hiding anything, and he directly said, your own Tao, as the name suggests, is something that you comprehend on your own, and it's unique in this world. I've made some summaries. Just like the ancient great god Pangu, his Tao can be called the Tao of all living beings, and the devil ancestor's Tao is the Tao of slaughter. The Tao of all living beings opens up a vast world for the prosperity of all living beings, and for the prosperity of all races. Back in the ancient times, Pangu world had produced countless powerful beings. Back then, the world didn't fall apart like it did now. Instead, it was a whole, thriving and thriving. In the Pangu world, Tao Carrier realm experts emerged one after another, and if it weren't for the ancient Great Demon War, which greatly depleted the world's energy, who knows how many living beings would have stepped into the Tao carrier realm by now. Just thinking about it was enough to make one's blood boil. However, in order to protect the present 33 heavens, great god Pangu condensed the energy of many shattered worlds and turned it into a peerless seal, and together with his own power, he trapped the devil ancestor in the 18 layers of hell. He walked the Tao of all living beings, so even if he was on the verge of death, he still wanted to protect the 33 heavens. Hearing Lu Xiaoyou's words, Du Xiaofu was a little shocked. He already knew many things about the ancient times, and when he met the illusion of Great Luo in the divine martial world, the latter had told him that the Pangu world was a whole in ancient times, and there was no concept of 33 heavens. Who would have thought that there was such a reason behind it? It wasn't that Pangu couldn't survive after sealing the devil ancestor, but in order to protect the remaining 33 heavens and countless small worlds, he had no choice but to use his own power to condense many lifeless shattered worlds together and impose a seal on the devil ancestor's world. The Tao of all living beings, the heart of all living beings, great god Pangu was like a benevolent god of creation, carefully protecting everything he created with his own hands to prevent them from being harmed. In that case, the devil ancestor's Tao of slaughter was to kill. He opened up the devil world, and the living beings in it were his tools of slaughter. Therefore, the devil world was also very strong, incomparably terrifying, and exceedingly cruel. Du Xiaofu thought about it and said. He came to this conclusion according to his senior brother's train of thought. Exactly. Lu Xiaoyu smiled and nodded, looking at Du Xiaofu and saying, the reason why the devil race loved to kill so much was because of the devil ancestor's Tao of slaughter. He opened up a world with the Tao of slaughter, and the living beings in it naturally lived by killing. The entire world was scarlet red, filled with the smell of blood. After the devil race began to conquer the Pangu world, this kind of killing stopped. Then, countless devil race people were organized and sent to attack the outside world, brewing the terrifying ancient devil war. Great god Pangu and the devil ancestor both had their own Tao. Senior brother, do you know what kind of Tao Heavenly Lord Daluo had? Du Xiaofu raised his head and looked at senior brother Lu Xiaoyu again. He was very concerned about this. It seemed that the Tao of the creator of a world had a very strong influence on the living beings in it. However, the people of Shenwu world didn't seem to be much different from the experts of the 33 heavens. Could it be that the Tao of Heavenly Lord Daluo was the same as that of Great God Pangu, the Tao of all living beings? Heavenly Lord Daluo died long ago. Except for Shenwu world, he didn't leave anything behind. Lu Xiaoyu suddenly sighed as if he was filled with endless regret and said, his Tao could be said to be a kind of unyielding Tao that would rather die in glory than live in dishonor. In the ancient times, when the devil race attacked, Heavenly Lord Daluo didn't hesitate at all. Even if it was the fledgling Daluo world in his own life, he wouldn't let the devil ancestor, who had evil intentions, get any benefits from him. Listening to Lu Xiaoyou's narration, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but nod in agreement. He had understood all of this long ago. Just as senior brother said, in the ancient times when the devil ancestor attacked Daluo world, he thought that Heavenly Lord Daluo would submit to protect his own life. Who would have thought that Heavenly Lord Daluo would turn around and join hands with Great God Pangu to help Pangu world, and even suppress the devil ancestor's body? This kind of action could indeed be called unyielding. However, after Heavenly Lord Daluo fell, the fledgling Daluo world began to shrink. It was only because of the power that Heavenly Lord Daluo left behind that it could barely maintain itself. In the end, this Daluo world, which had become the size of a small world, changed its trajectory and became one with the 33 heavens and countless other worlds. Under the influence of the laws of Pangu world, it no longer had such a distinctive characteristic. Otherwise, every living being that came out of Shenwu world would be ferocious people who would rather break than bend. Lu Xiaoyu spoke again and added, at this point, Du Xiaofu truly understood the characteristics of Shenwu world. It turned out that it hadn't fully matured, and then it was influenced by Pangu world. This was why there weren't any obvious differences between the two worlds. In other words, every Tao will carry with it the characteristics or will of the cultivator. Du Xiaofu frowned slightly and came to this conclusion. Whether it was great god Pangu, heavenly lord Daluo, or the devil ancestor, the worlds created by these three people all had their own distinctive characteristics. And these characteristics were influenced by the creator of the world, and related to their own temperament. Thinking of this, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but think of himself. He had lived for thousands of years and had his own unique characteristics, but it wasn't easy to summarize the most prominent point in a short period of time. This kid, it seems like he understands at once. Seeing Du Xiaofu fall into deep thought, Xiaolong, Dibatian, Yonghua, and the others smiled. They all knew that it wasn't difficult for Du Xiaofu to break through to Tao bearing. It was just that he wanted to do it quickly, so that when the devil ancestor fully recovered, he could play a crucial role. But everyone also understood that Du Xiaofu could comprehend these things, but it didn't mean that he could quickly break through and create his own Tao. Just thinking about it made one realize how difficult it was. They didn't expect Du Xiaofu to reach the peak in one go, but if he could use these comprehensions to create a small Tao and set foot on that path, then he would be halfway to success. The rest could only be left to heaven's will. Senior brother, I want to know what kind of Tao you're walking? After thinking for a while, Du Xiaofu looked at Lu Xiaofu and raised his doubts. He looked at the green-robed man in front of him with a deep gaze and even blinked twice, extremely curious. Du Xiaofu asked this question for a reason. As the only expert to break through to Tao bearing as an innate spirit body, his senior brother Lu Xiaofu's Tao was probably more useful than Pangu, heavenly lord Daluo, and the devil ancestors. It was precisely because of this that Du Xiaofu was very concerned about this question. He stared straight at Lu Xiaofu, wanting to hear his answer. Hearing this question, Xiaolong, Dibatian, Donghuang Taixien, Yonghua, and Lu Xintong, including Lu Xiaofu, all began to laugh. As the closest people to Lu Xiaofu, the five of them naturally knew what kind of Tao Lu Xiaofu was walking. Boss's Tao is the Tao of the tyrant. Before Lu Xiaoyu could reply, Xiaolong glanced at his boss and said to Du Xiaofu, "Let's go." Chapter 2953. The Way of the Tyrant. Xiaolong's words caused Du Xiaofu to be startled. He looked at his senior brother Lu Xiaoyu in surprise, not quite believing Xiaolong's words. Ever since his rise to power in the divine martial world, he had seen the illusions left behind by his senior apprentice brother. Back in the first level of the 18 layers of hell, when he had chased after the eastern departing Crimson Phoenix and Xin Yan, causing Jiangxin to act against him, he had seen Lu Xiaoyu in person. By now, he had gained quite a bit of understanding of the master of the 3,000 great worlds. However, in Du Xiaofu's impression, senior brother Lu Xiaoyu had always been amiable and always had a kind smile on his face. Where was the aura of a tyrant? If that was the case, wouldn't he be somewhat incompatible with the way of the tyrant? However, thinking about it carefully, Du Xiaofu also remembered that senior brother Lu Xiaoyu had appeared at several crucial moments. The first time he faced the demon ancestor, and then he suppressed the blood ancestor in the Qian Su Jinghua heaven. Previously, he had intimidated the 9 demon generals with his absolute strength. Every time he appeared, he had indeed displayed extreme dominance. However, it was clear that these performances alone were insufficient to say that he had walked out of the way of the tyrant. "What's with that look in your eyes?" Seeing Du Xiaofu's suspicious expression, Xiaolong snorted in dissatisfaction. At the same time, he slapped the back of Du Xiaofu's head, almost causing him to stagger. The next moment, the purple-robed young man held his head with a bitter expression, looking as if he had been wronged. He really didn't mean anything else. It was just that he couldn't imagine senior brother Lu Xiaoyu's domineering appearance. Did he have to treat him like this? Thinking of this, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but secretly glare at Xiaolong. If it weren't for the fact that Xiaolong was little Xingxing's father, he would definitely be angry with him. "You still dare to glare at me?" Obviously, Du Xiaofu's little actions did not escape Xiaolong's observation. He snorted and said, "Little Xingxing has been following you for so many years and has been beaten up a lot. As a father, I can't just watch my daughter get bullied without doing anything. That slap just now was not for anything else. From now on, I won't cause trouble for you." Xiaolong glared at Du Xiaofu, obviously wanting to bully him. Beside him, Lu Xiaoyu, Di Batian, Donghuang Taishen, Yangguo, and Lu Xingtong were all laughing. This was his biological father settling scores with his adoptive father. Xiaolong was taking revenge for little Xingxing. This little girl is really an ingrate. See how I'll deal with you in the future. Du Xiaofu was speechless. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked, and the veins on his forehead bulged. That damned girl, little Xingxing, actually complained to her father behind his back. Isn't slapping a technique that I'm used to? Now, he was actually being used by someone else. Du Xiaofu secretly swore that he would definitely catch little Xingxing and teach her a lesson. Besides, Du Xiaofu also wanted to fight 300 rounds with Xiaolong to vent his anger. But when he thought about the gap between his strength and Xiaolong's, he could only suppress this thought in his heart and give up helplessly. However, suddenly, another "pa" sound was heard. "Boss, you hit me again." Xiaolong had just slapped Du Xiaofu and was feeling proud. But in an instant, the back of his head was suddenly attacked. "You little brat, Du Xiaofu raised little Xingxing for you, and you still treat him like this." Lu Xiaoyu slowly retracted his palm and said casually, "How can this be the same?" Xiaolong was the one who felt extremely wronged. He had a bitter look on his face and did not dare to vent his anger on Lu Xiaoyu. Instead, he glared fiercely at Du Xiaofu again. Du Xiaofu rubbed his nose and turned his head to ignore him. Di Batian, Donghuang Taishen, Yangguo, and Lu Xingtong laughed heartily at the same time. "Du Xiaofu, don't take it to heart. Xiaolong is just using this method to get closer to you." At this time, Yangguo walked to Du Xiaofu's side and patted him lightly on the shoulder as he said with a smile, "That's right. The few of us are as close as brothers and sisters. Since you're my junior, you're naturally our younger brother. But all this while, you seem to treat us like how you treat your seniors. Xiaolong is little Xingxing's father, and you're little Xingxing's father. If the two of you can get along better, that's what little Xingxing would be most happy to see." Lu Xingtong's red lips parted slightly as she said this to Du Xiaofu. Through their explanation, Du Xiaofu could understand Xiaolong's actions. Just as Lu Xingtong had said, no matter if it was Xiaolong, Di Batian, Donghuang Taishen, Yangguo, Lu Xingtong, or even his own senior, Lu Xiaoyu, he would often subconsciously treat them as his seniors and treat them with respect and reverence. Through this small scene, he could indeed feel a sense of closeness. It was as though he was slowly becoming part of their small circle. Let's talk about Boss's way of the Overlord. Xiaolong rubbed his head a few times before he pouted and started talking. The few of them nodded and then began to tell Du Xiaofu about Lu Xiaoyu's deeds in detail. Sometimes, Xiaolong would tell the story, and sometimes, it would be Lu Xingtong's turn. Sometimes, it would Be Yangguo's turn. Di Batian and Donghuang Taishen would also chime in from time to time. After listening to the detailed narration, Du Xiaofu was dumbfounded. He was extremely shocked by Lu Xiaoyu's deeds in the past. Only now did he know that his senior had walked from a lowly position to a glorious position in the small Lingwu world. He had overcome all obstacles and killed all evil. He was unparalleled in his domineering ways. On his path of advancement, there were many geniuses and powerful families. However, those who stood in his way were all killed. Lu Xiaoyu's cultivation path was a chapter about the rise of the Overlord. It was filled with hot blood. It was like a king ascending to the heavens. He had the attitude of those who followed him would prosper, and those who opposed him would perish. This was an absolute domineering way that relied on absolute strength as the foundation. Du Xiaofu made a comparison. The process of his senior's rise was somewhat similar to his, but at the same time, it was also very different. The similarity between them was that the paths they had walked were filled with killing and fighting. They were paved with blood and bones. The difference was also very obvious. What his senior Lu Xiaoyu wanted to achieve was to be above everything and be supreme. Lu Xiaoyu did it. He finally succeeded and stood at the highest point in the world. He overlooked the world and became the master of all living things in the 3,000 sectors. However, Du Xiaofu was different. All his efforts were mainly for the reunion of his family, the peace of his loved ones, the safety of his people, and the stability of the world behind him, all his efforts, all his motivation, all came from this. Compared to his senior Lu Xiaoyu, there was no difference between them. They were both doing it for their own obsessions. It was just that their goals were different. Could it be that this is the Tao that I have walked on? Du Xiaofu suddenly fell into deep thought. He frowned and started to think. In a daze, he slowly turned around and walked slowly in the void. He was constantly thinking. Lu Xiaoyu, Xiaolong, and the others did not care about him. They allowed Du Xiaofu to walk alone and comprehend deeply. Under their gazes, Du Xiaofu walked further and further away. Not long after, the second strongest expert of the Devil Clan saw the purple-robed young man in a daze. He immediately rushed forward and slashed down with a demonic saber. Just as Du Xiaofu was about to be slashed by the saber, a purple-gold light suddenly rushed out from his body. It turned into a fierce and domineering sword light and directly slashed out. This sword light was extremely terrifying. It carried the terrifying power of the great Tao and was close to perfection. The yin and yang qi rotated and rolled endlessly. It instantly defeated the demonic expert's saber attack. Then, the sword light did not weaken and fiercely slashed the demonic expert's body, sending him flying. Demonic blood gushed out of his mouth, and his eyes were filled with panic and shock. He did not dare to sneak attack Du Xiaofu again. What good comprehension! In the distance, Di Batian clicked his tongue and sighed with emotion. Including him, Lu Xiaoyu, Xiaolong, and the others were all shocked by this scene. Du Xiaofu had obviously fallen into a deep state of comprehension and had the ability to spontaneously fight against the enemy. It was obviously unwise to attack him at this time. The demonic expert who launched the sneak attack could be considered unlucky. The attack did not succeed and he was heavily injured instead. I was just about to tell him that if he wants to walk his own path, he has to combine his own characteristics to comprehend it. But I didn't expect this kid to think it through so quickly. It seems that he understands himself very well and is very clear about what he wants. He knows the ultimate goal of his cultivation. Lu Xiaoyu said with a slight smile. He was very gratified that Du Xiaofu suddenly began to comprehend. His own path was difficult to say, but it was also very simple. But to say it was simple, it was also very complicated. However, with this insight, it was a good opportunity for Du Xiaofu to break through. In the following period of time, the purple-robed youth could be seen in various battlefields in the 18 levels of hell. Under the gaze of many experts, the purple-robed youth could be seen in various places. He was like a wandering soul with his head lowered, wandering around aimlessly. In the beginning, many people did not know what was going on with Du Xiaofu. But gradually, they realized that he was comprehending something new. Taking advantage of this opportunity, many experts of the devil race set their sights on Du Xiaofu. They all knew that the purple-robed youth would play an important role in the future battles. Hence, the demonic race would not let him go so easily. Now that this was a godsend opportunity, how could they not attack? If they succeeded, it would cause great damage to the 33 heavens and the 3,000 greater worlds. Lu Xiaoyu's plan would also fail. With this mentality, the demonic race would often launch sneak attacks to kill Du Xiaofu. At the very least, it would be good if they could interrupt his comprehension. We cannot let the demonic race affect the Yuqing godly emperor. Around them, some of the older generation meditative experts saw this scene. How could they let the demonic race's plan come true? Many figures rushed over, with Du Xiaofu as the center, protecting him in the center. Du Xiaofu did have the ability to defend himself, but it was better to be safe than sorry. If he overreached himself and was interrupted, it would not be a good thing. Hence, under the protection of many experts, no one from the demonic race dared to disturb the purple-robed youth. He seemed to be comprehending something and was in an extremely deep state. It was as if he was completely isolated from the outside world. Under such circumstances, the experts continued to push forward towards the higher levels of the 18 levels of hell. In another direction, the seals of the 9 demon generals were also under Lu Xiaoyu's control. They moved along with the rest of the battlefield. The fates of these 9 people were in Lu Xiaoyou's hands. The reason why he did not kill them now was to leave them for Du Xiaofu to train in the future. Rumble. In the 18 levels of hell, the terrifying massacre was still ongoing. The experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 greater worlds clashed with the demonic race again and again. However, the situation was becoming clearer and clearer. All the advantages were in the 33 heavens and the 3,000 greater worlds' favor. The demonic race was being completely suppressed, and their casualties were unimaginable. At the same time, there were a few demons who were in the meditative realm. They saw the opportunity early and escaped to the deeper parts of hell. Hence, no one chased after them. Those people would face death sooner or later. Sooner or later, it would not make much of a difference. In the end, the meditative realm was of no use. The real battle was between the demon ancestor and Lu Xiaoyu. Those who were not strong enough could not interfere. Now that the situation had reached this stage, Lu Xiaoyou's plan was extremely effective. Other than the demon ancestor and the 9 demon generals, cultivators of other levels would lose their effectiveness. Their influence would be minimized. But we don't have much time left. Outside the various battlefields, Lu Xiaoyu watched the tragic massacre and could not help but slowly frown. At present, everyone had advanced to the 10th level of hell. The demonic race had launched a huge defeat and had no ability to form an effective counterattack. But in his heart, he felt more and more dignified. Glancing into the distance, Du Xiaofu was still wandering, not out of the state of comprehension. However, he did not seem to have any intention of waking up for the time being. It is absolutely impossible for that kid to succeed and break through to the Dao-bearing realm in one go. But this is an opportunity for him to plant a Dao seed, waiting for one day to germinate and grow. Xiaolong chimed in from the side. Lu Xiaoyu nodded. Of course, he knew how difficult it was to break through to the Dao-bearing realm. It was impossible to expect Du Xiaofu to do it in one go. Unfortunately, there wasn't much time left. Over the years, all of Lu Xiaoyou's plans had been flawless. Only Du Xiaofu had been an unstable factor. Just as Di Bat Ian had said, their expectations for Du Xiaofu were too strong. They'd placed all their hopes on him. However, his growth required a process. This was something that could not be forced. The kid's abilities had already far exceeded everyone's expectations. But now, it seemed that he was still a small step away from their ultimate goal. Jiangchen is about to recover. Perhaps we should intervene. We can't let him recover so easily. Lu Xiaoyu gazed into the void. It was as if he could see the 18 layers of hell, into the deepest depths, and into Jiangchen's condition. Attacking Jiangchen was part of his plan. His goal was to buy time for Du Xiaofu. Perhaps we should have intervened long ago. Donghuang Taixin sighed. It seemed to him that interfering with the demon ancestor now was a bit too late. It's not too late to act now. The demon ancestor has just reached a critical juncture. Striking him at this critical juncture is more appropriate than any other time. Lu Xiaoyu smiled faintly and said as such. When the others heard this, they all raised their eyebrows. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go now. Xiaolong couldn't wait any longer and said immediately. His eyes shone with an intense light and surged with murderous intent. You guys stay on the battlefield. I'll go alone. Lu Xiaoyu waved his hand and said to the people beside him. Then he stepped forward, preparing to leave and head directly to the 18th layer of hell. Boss, why don't we go with you? Perhaps we'll be able to help. Xiaolong hurried over and said hurriedly. He was a bit worried. The demon ancestor was extremely powerful. Even if his recovery process was interrupted, he'd still be extremely fierce. His boss's cultivation was profound. Perhaps he didn't fear the demon ancestor, but Xiaolong still wanted to fight alongside him. Xiaolong is right. Let's go with Big Brother. Lu Xintong also stepped forward gracefully and said, now that the situation on the battlefield is under control, even if we leave, there won't be any major accidents. We'd better go with you to the 18th layer of hell. When we face the demon ancestor, perhaps he can provide us with some insights. Yang Guo also said, wanting to go with Lu Xiaoyu. Now that the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 great thousand worlds were so powerful, the demon race had no power to resist at all. Under such circumstances, the half-step Great Path Realm experts wouldn't be of much help if they stayed here. It was better to go with Lu Xiaoyu to the 18th layer of hell and fight the demon ancestor. In an instant, Yanggua, Xiaolong, Lu Xintong, Dibatian, and Donghuang Taixian all looked at Lu Xiaoyu with eager eyes. Obviously, they wanted to go with him. How about this? I have a very important task for you. Lu Xiaoyu thought for a moment, then suddenly took out his long saber and handed it to Xiaolong. What's the important task? Xiaolong took it naturally, but he frowned. The others were also puzzled and looked at him with puzzled eyes. In ancient times, when the demon world was sealed into the 18 layers of hell, 18 Dao carriers assisted the great god Pangu to set up a peerless array. Now that the demon race is under control, they can't cause too much trouble. Since that's the case, it's time for those experts to see the light of day again. Looking at Xiaolong Dibatian, Donghuang Taixian, Yanggua, and Lu Xintong, Lu Xiaoyu said solemnly. Chapter 2954. Xiaolong, Dibatian, Donghuang Taixian, Yanggua, and Lu Xintong's expressions turned solemn. Xiaolong had already informed everyone about the 18 Dao carrying realm experts, so everyone present was well aware of the situation. According to Lu Xiaoyu's original plan, they were supposed to rescue the enlightened masters when they first entered the 18 layers of hell. It was only because some variables had appeared in Lu Xiaoyu's body that this matter was delayed. Now that Lu Xiaoyu had returned, it was time for the 18 enlightened masters to reappear in front of the world. I left behind some power in bloodshed that can activate the formations outside the 18 layers of hell. The seal of the 18 layers of hell is already broken. With bloodshed, it won't be difficult for you to completely destroy it. Lu Xiaoyu said, looking at Xiaolong. In the primordial era, the great god Pangu had laid down the seal of the 18 layers of hell. After countless years of erosion, it had lost most of its power. With Jiangxin's return, it had suffered even greater damage. With Xiaolong Dibatian, Yanggua, and the others' strength, they might not be able to directly destroy it. However, if they could borrow Lu Xiaoyu's bloodshed to activate the powerful formations outside the 18 layers of hell, it wouldn't be difficult to accomplish this. Boss, without bloodshed, are you confident you can deal with the demon ancestor? Xiaolong asked, looking at Lu Xiaoyu worriedly. Bloodshed was his boss's life weapon, so it was closely related to him. With bloodshed, Lu Xiaoyu could unleash his greatest strength. Xiaolong was a little doubtful that he'd handed bloodshed over to them and planned to face the demon ancestor alone. Who was the demon ancestor? He was an existence who'd stirred up the entire ancient demonic war. He was a transcendent realm expert, the strongest person in the world. Although the demon ancestor hadn't recovered to his peak strength, he couldn't be underestimated. Lu Xiaoyu didn't know if he'd be completely confident if he didn't use bloodshed. Xiaoyu, why don't we go with you? After we deal with the demon ancestor, we can rescue the 18 enlightened masters. They've been sealed for countless years. Even if they reappear now, they won't be able to do much to change the situation. It's better to let the 18 seniors continue to be sealed. It's safer for them. Yanggua, who was beside Xiaolong, said to Lu Xiaoyu. What he said made sense. The many experts who had assisted great god Pangu in setting up the 18 layers of hell had probably exhausted their strength. Compared to the 9 great demon generals of the Devil Clan, their situation might be even worse. Even if the seal was broken, there wouldn't be many who would be able to come out alive. Once those people broke out of the seal, the situation would be even worse if they were to get involved in the battle. Don't worry, just do as I say. I'm not here to fight the fiend ancestor. I just need to disturb him. I'll be back soon. Lu Xiaoyu smiled and said to the experts in front of him. After which, he turned his gaze and looked at another place. That place was the seal where the 9 great demon generals were. Lu Xiaoyu looked at the 9 great demon generals who were attacking ferociously in an attempt to break out of the seal. His voice was cold as he said, "The seal that I've set up won't be able to trap those 2 for long. Before they break out, I'll be back." Xiaolong and the others followed Lu Xiaoyou's line of sight and saw that the light barrier around the 9 great demon generals had already started to crack. Although it wasn't obvious, it was only a matter of time before it was broken. In another direction, Du Xiaofu was still wandering around like a wandering soul. He was in the midst of comprehending. He only needed to wait for him to make a further breakthrough before the 9 great demon generals would be put to use. It's settled then. Let's split up. Lu Xiaoyu finally spoke. Without waiting for Xiaolong and the rest to say anything, his body flashed and directly disappeared from the spot. In an instant he had disappeared from sight. Let's go too. Xiaolong weighed the long saber in his hand and said to Di Batyan, Donghuang Taixin, Yanghua, and Lu Xintong. Then, the 5 of them went straight to the first layer of hell. They were going to start there and rescue the 18 carrying Daos sealed here, layer by layer. Lu Xiaoyu, Xiaolong, and the others left one after another. However, the terrifying killing on the battlefield continued. For the 33 heavens and the 3,000 sectors, they had never experienced such a delightful killing. The strength of the demon race was greatly reduced, and the number of experts in the 2 worlds was almost unchanged. The overall situation was completely one-sided. All the experts were in a killing frenzy. However, in this endless battlefield, there was a strange scene. Everyone could see a purple-robed figure wandering around, as if he had lost his mind, running around aimlessly. One's own Tao needs to be combined with one's own characteristics. Great God Pangu's Tao of all beings, Demon Ancestors' Tao of massacre, Heavenly Lord Daluo's Tao of strength, Senior Brother's Tao of hegemony. Great God Pangu's heart was benevolent. He cared about the common people, so he walked on the Tao of all beings. Demon Ancestor liked bloodshed, so he walked on the Tao of massacre. Heavenly Lord Daluo was brave and fearless. Although he died, he surrendered, so he walked on the Tao of strength. Senior Brother wanted to dominate the world, so he walked on the Tao of hegemony. Every Tao is related to one's own personality. At the same time, it's also related to the goal one wants to achieve. Du Xiaofu was still muttering to himself. It looked like he was reciting scriptures. Thoughts flashed in his mind as he pondered these questions without stopping. Based on what Senior Brother Lu Xiaoyu had said to him, he began to summarize some of his own characteristics. For many people, they would have many different characteristics at the same time. For example, they were benevolent, upright and plain-spoken, overbearing, and so on. They could all be combined into one. But as for the ultimate goal to achieve, it was the best way to distinguish one's personality, allowing Du Xiaofu to quickly find his own position. For thousands of years, I started from the small Du family in Stone City and cultivated step by step. At the beginning, I wanted to reunite my family and take back my mother and sister from legalism. During this process, I constantly struggled. I walked out of Stone City, barged into the dark forest, established the World Association, and recruited Elder E and many other experts. After that, I entered Tianwu Academy to cultivate. Along the way, I made many connections with the Stone Dragon Empire, fought with the Du family, and passed through many calamities. After that, Tianwu Academy suffered a great calamity. Too many of my family and friends died at the hands of the devil religion. Du Xiaofu constantly recalled everything he had done over the years. Those places, those figures, all of them flowed through his mind. The Du family, Stone City, the Dark Forest, the Du family, the Stone Dragon Empire, the Beast Region, the Divine Light Court, the Ancient Heaven Sect, the Great Lun Sect, the Seven Star Hall, and so on. During those years, he had traveled through the 3 continents, the Kyushu realm, and the entire divine martial world. He established the World Association and the Desolate Country. He had traveled through every secret place and obtained countless opportunities. Along with all of these, his strength had increased without limit. The stronger one was, the greater one's responsibility. The reason why Du Xiaofu worked so hard was for his family, his loved ones, his friends, the citizens of the desolate country, and the common people of the world. He wanted them to live a more stable and better life. Because of this goal, he eventually walked on the opposite side of the devil religion and became the person that the devil religion wanted to eliminate the most. At the same time, the devil ancestor also became Du Xiaofu's target. He was willing to sacrifice his own life to take the devil ancestor down with him. It could be said that those decades in the divine martial world were the most turbulent years of Du Xiaofu's life. He had experienced many life and death situations and countless dangers, but in the end he still managed to survive. Along the way, I continuously grew stronger and stronger, all to protect the people I care about. At the beginning, it was a family reunion. Then, it was to protect the citizens of the Stone Dragon Empire. Then, it was to protect those old friends from Tianwu Academy. Then, when I became the Rock Emperor of the Desolate Country, the countless citizens of the Desolate Country became the people I had to protect. In the face of the great calamity of the devil cult, everyone in the 3 continents and 9 continents placed their hopes on me. Scenes of the past flashed through Du Xiaofu's mind. It was as if it had happened yesterday, so clear and so deep. The stronger he was, the more he had to bear. In the end, all living beings in the divine martial world placed their hopes on their Rock Emperor to defeat the devil ancestor and restore peace to the divine martial world. It was also because of this that Du Xiaofu himself obtained the Dragon Qi of the world, the Emperor Qi of the world, and the magnificent feat of being worshipped by the entire world. It was an amazing feat. From then on, the divine martial world was peaceful, and there were no longer any great battles. All living beings' gazes were finally focused on the 33 heavens. As the strongest person in Shenwu world, Du Xiaofu naturally had to take the first step and explore the path for everyone else. This was to prevent Shenwu world from being stuck in its own place, to prevent it from becoming a slave to the outside world. But very quickly, the existence of the demon race once again entered everyone's sights. Because Du Xiaofu controlled the heavenly Tao of the divine martial world, and because of his relationship with Jiangchen, Du Xiaofu was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. Because of this, most living beings in the 33 heavens didn't have a deep relationship with him. But his family, friends, and loved ones were all over the world, forming the most complicated network of relationships. Because of this, Du Xiaofu had no choice but to take on the mission of stopping the demon race. Now that his senior apprentice brother Lu Xiaoyu and the others had intervened, he couldn't shirk away from this responsibility. So, the Tao I want to walk is actually very simple. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu, who was walking through the void, stopped. His eyes suddenly became 10,000 times brighter, incomparably resplendent, like 2 bright suns. My Tao is the Tao of friendship. Protecting the people I care about is my responsibility, my mission. Even if I have to die a horrible death, I will not allow them to be harmed. Even if the paramount god intervenes, I, Du Xiaofu, will drag him down from his pedestal and cast him into the dark abyss, even if I have to die. When these words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth, they were soft at the beginning. However, in the end, they turned into rolling thunder that resounded in the sky. It was as if tens of thousands of mountains were collapsing and thousands of waves were roaring. It caused an incomparably intense commotion. Under the shock of these words, the experts on the battlefield were first startled. Then, they all stopped what they were doing and turned to look in the direction of the purple-robed youth. Everyone's eyes were filled with confusion. But then Lu Jingyun, Lu Yushao, Long Ke, Long Su, and many other third-level meditative realm experts simultaneously revealed looks of shock. Martial Uncle Du is. He's comprehended his own Tao and found his own direction. Lu Jingyun and the others were filled with extreme shock and horror. Each one of them seemed to have been struck by lightning as they stood rooted to the ground. The vast voice reverberated in the void, as if it was released from the mouth of the heavens. It was like the sonorous voice of the great Tao, indescribably shocking. Everyone could feel the fierce and strong will in Du Xiaofu's heart at this moment. Even if the paramount god intervened, they would not be able to stop his Tao. Anyone who disobeyed would be cast down from their pedestal and cast into the dark abyss. How domineering and decisive was this? How resolute was this? Suddenly, a strange aura rose from Du Xiaofu's body and spread out into the void. It set off a terrifying storm that howled and danced in the entire level of hell. How long has it been? It hasn't even been 100 years since Martial Uncle Du began to comprehend. We've just entered the 11th level of hell not long ago, and he's already comprehended such a thing. Lu Jingyun exclaimed in shock. His entire body began to tremble slightly. He could feel the power that Du Xiaofu carried. It was incomparably powerful, but also very ethereal and elusive. This strange power was unique to Du Xiaofu. It was different from everyone else's and contained various meanings such as valiance, domineering, resolute, absolute, and so on. The most prominent thing was the terrifying aura that no one could stop. For the sake of his own beliefs, he could look down on everything. Even the heavens and earth could not suppress him. At this moment, Lu Jingyun frowned slightly. He also had a strange feeling. Yes, the so-called Tao carrier was carrying one's own Tao, not the grand Tao of heaven and earth created by others. In other words, Du Xiaofu had completely determined the direction he wanted to go and carried an unparalleled conviction. It was the most terrifying thing. With this step, Martial Uncle Du is probably not far from the half-step Tao carrier realm. Lu Jingyun murmured and said numbly. The half-step Tao carrier realm was to carve out a trace of the Tao. It was still far from the true embryonic form of the grand Tao. But it was undeniable that a good start was an important part of success. The difficult part was the first step. The first thing Du Xiaofu had to do was draw the first stroke. Huff, huff, huff. Under everyone's gaze, Du Xiaofu's aura began to climb, becoming more and more powerful. Rays of purple and gold light shot out and wrapped around the purple-robed figure. His figure was swallowed up and disappeared. However, everyone could feel that the power inside was becoming more and more vast and shocking. Rumble! Thunderous sounds exploded and erupted in the 11th level of hell. It was earth-shattering. Whether it was the 33 heavens, the 3,000 great thousand worlds, or the many powerhouses of the demon race, they all felt panic in their hearts. It was as if they were facing the heavenly might of the great Tao, and its pressure filled every inch of space. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. Their blood was boiling, as if it was about to explode. Between heaven and earth, waves of mysterious energy seeped out from the red 11th level of hell. It rushed into the purple and gold light and gathered inside Du Xiaofu's body. Brother, boss, father, Du Xiaojing, Du Xiaoyao, and little Xing Xing, who came out from Shenwu world, were in a different state than everyone else. Not only did they not retreat like the other powerhouses, but they also moved towards where Du Xiaofu was. It was completely out of instinct. From Du Xiaofu's body, the three immortal realm warriors could sense a special aura. It was the connection between family members, the power of bloodline inheritance. I think I'm about to break through. Little Xingxing's eyes suddenly blinked twice, and soft words came out from his red lips. Then, the slim figure sat down cross-legged on the ground and floated in the air. Waves of vast energy erupted from her body. It was indescribably shocking. Then, Du Xiaojing and Du Xiaoyao did the same. They entered a state of cultivation. This situation was extremely sudden, causing Lu Jingyun and the others to be slightly puzzled. The Tao that Master Du firmly believes in is closely related to their existence. Martial Uncle Du's new understanding has also affected the three of them imperceptibly, bringing them unimaginable benefits. After a long while, Lu Jingyun slowly opened his mouth and said this. Through his explanation, the surrounding powerhouses finally understood that this was indeed caused by Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaojing, Du Xiaoyao, and little Xing Xing were all related to Du Xiaofu by blood. They had always lived by his side and were greatly influenced by Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's Tao naturally had an inseparable relationship with the three of them. At this moment, the purple-robed youth had begun to understand his own Tao. Although he had not taken that crucial step, he had already begun to affect his family. Perhaps the truth is even more terrifying than we imagined. Master Du walked out of Shenwu world and grasped the laws of heaven there. He has also formed a deep connection with the entire Shenwu world. Right now, I really want to go to Shenwu world and take a look. I want to see how the living beings there will change under such circumstances. Beside Lu Jingyun, his sister Lu Yuxiao was already shocked to the point of no return, but she could not help but blurt out these words. As she said those words, her pretty face revealed the most horrified expression. Chapter 2955. When the people around Lu Yushao heard this, they all revealed expressions of shock. Her meaning was already very clear. It was to say that Du Xiaofu's comprehension this time not only brought about a great impact on Du Xiaojing, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing who were present. Perhaps all the living beings in Shenwu world would receive unimaginable benefits from the situation here. If that was the case, then it would be terrifying. Shenwu world had been weak for many years, until the demon god was killed and the devil religion's calamity ended. Only then did it begin to shine. Over the years, it grew extremely fast, and every time Du Xiaofu broke through, the world would become many times stronger. Today, Shenwu world was starting to look like the great Luo Tian of the ancient times. It was extremely terrifying, and much more majestic than any of the 33 heavens. The only thing that couldn't compare to it was the living beings in that world. They hadn't had time to grow, and their overall strength was still relatively weak. But over the years, Shenwu world had started to produce a large number of immortal realm cultivators, and the number was impressive. If this time, because of Du Xiaofu's influence, the strength of that world would increase by another level, then it would become a terrifying force. I don't think it's that bad. Martial Uncle Du hasn't truly broken through yet, so the living beings in Shenwu world probably won't benefit too much. Even if they had to wait, they would have to wait for Martial Uncle Du to truly take that step. But for those closest to him, from this moment onwards, they would already benefit greatly. Lu Jingyun thought for a long time, and finally came up with this conjecture. Hearing this, everyone else also felt that it made sense. If Du Xiaofu's enlightenment was enough to affect the entire Shenwu world, then it would be too monstrous and hard to imagine. The most likely scenario would be like what Lu Jingyun said, waiting for that guy to truly break through the half-step Dao-raising realm, or even the Dao-raising realm, then he would continue to bring about earth-shattering changes to that world. But one thing couldn't be denied, was that Shenwu world would definitely benefit from Du Xiaofu's enlightenment. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At that moment, Du Xiaofu was still surrounded by boundless light. Amidst the light, Du Xiaofu closed his eyes slightly. His 6 senses were shut off, and he was not aware of anything outside. Inside his body, waves of powerful qi flowed continuously, shuttling back and forth in his limbs. The qi finally gathered into a huge flood and rushed into his divine watchtower. Then, it turned into a great cycle and entered his Naiwen palace. Qi La. When this frightening energy rushed into his mind, it transformed into a thin, mysterious energy. Like gossamer, it accumulated more and more. The origin soul of the crimson horse monkey let out a terrifying roar when facing this thread. It actually trembled as if it was facing something terrifying. Buzz, buzz, buzz. However, Du Xiaofu continued to gather this energy, accumulating more and more in his Naiwen palace. These strands continued to entangle with each other and turned into the shape of a thin sword. It carried an extremely sharp aura, as if it was the most terrifying thing in this world. It was capable of piercing through everything, carving its mark on the grand Tao of heaven and earth, changing the innate principles that were bestowed upon it, and changing the world. Roar. The moment this thin sword took shape, the origin soul of the crimson horse monkey let out a frightened cry. Its imposing and domineering body trembled violently. This was the instinctive reaction of Du Xiaofu when he felt fear and terror. In order to walk my own path, I must carve my own principles on my origin soul. Du Xiaofu murmured to himself. He felt his voice trembling violently. The might emitted by the thin sword was too terrifying. Just by standing there quietly, it made his origin soul feel danger. It was as if as long as he moved, he would be able to reap his life. Du Xiaofu was very clear in his heart what he had to do. Although he was filled with boundless fear, he still had to carry it out. Buzz. Accompanied by a terrifying buzzing sound, the thin sword suddenly changed direction and headed towards the origin soul of the crimson horse monkey. The tip of the sword flashed lightly, causing a terrifying mark to appear on the origin soul's body, as if it was about to be cut apart. If this scene was seen in the past, Du Xiaofu would definitely be shocked to death. One had to know that his origin soul of the Crimson Horse Monkey was extremely powerful, not the slightest bit inferior to his own physical body. However, in front of the tiny bit of light emitted by this thin sword, such a terrifying scene actually appeared, as if it was about to be destroyed in an instant. Ao ao ao. Du Xiaofu's origin soul roared violently, emitting a trembling sound. The power carried by the thin sword, before it even reached his body, it had already pierced through everything. The sword of will and energy, the sword of faith, is naturally the most terrifying existence in this world. With sufficient will and faith, even if the gods and devils block the way, they can still slaughter the gods and devils and brazenly advance forward. Du Xiaofu continuously encouraged himself in his heart. After such a long period of continuous comprehension, he was finally able to gather such a huge amount of will and faith to condense this thin sword. His goal was to draw an extremely important stroke on his origin soul, to carve out a trace of his own Tao. He controlled the thin sword to move, pressing towards the Crimson Horse Monkey's origin soul step by step, causing the origin soul's body to let out a miserable scream and began to be destroyed in a large area. Du Xiaofu's teeth were chattering, and his entire body was drenched in cold sweat from head to toe. Intense pain invaded every inch of his origin soul. This was a pain that came from the deepest part of his origin soul, and it was inconsolable. It must work. Du Xiaofu secretly made up his mind. He moved the thin sword and approached his own origin soul body. However, what caused him to feel despair was that the red-bone horse monkey's origin soul had shrunk to the extreme in front of the thin sword. A large amount of origin soul power collapsed and scattered, causing him to feel weaker and weaker. At the same time, the thin sword was unable to touch the body of the origin soul. The pain was simply unbearable. It must work. It must work. Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth and persevered, moving again and again. However, his origin soul involuntarily began to flee, wanting to escape from that terrifying power. This was the weakness in human nature, and it was also the instinct of everyone to seek luck and avoid calamity. Most importantly, his own strength was becoming weaker and weaker. It wouldn't be long before the entire Crimson Horse Monkey's origin soul was completely wiped out by the thin sword. At that time, Du Xiaofu himself would probably lose his life here, his body and Tao vanishing. Carve for me. But even in the face of death, Du Xiaofu was still unwilling to give up. He still wanted to carve a mark. As long as he could do it, he would have successfully taken the first step. The thin sword let out a faint buzzing sound as it chased after the red-bone horse monkey's origin soul. Its speed was incomparably fast. In comparison, the red-bone horse monkey's origin soul power was gradually weakening, almost to the point where it could not be maintained. At the same time, under the influence of the thin sword, it was becoming weaker and weaker. As time passed, Du Xiaofu only felt that his strength was about to be exhausted. If this situation continued, he was afraid that before he could successfully carve that mark, his origin soul would collapse into nothingness and he would die an unnatural death. This situation made him feel even more flustered. Don't tell me I have to give up? Du Xiaofu's entire body was already soaked in cold sweat, having an extreme feeling of exhaustion. He had the thought of giving up, not wanting to continue like this. That thin sword formed from unyielding will and firm conviction was simply too terrifying. It made people instinctively want to avoid it. Even Du Xiaofu himself was unable to control his own feelings of fear. Apart from giving up, there seemed to be no better way. If he allowed the thin sword's power to continue attacking his origin soul, he might really die. This is rewriting the Great Tao. The process is definitely filled with danger. But to give up just like this, I'm really unwilling. Du Xiaofu kept thinking in his heart. He found it hard to accept the result of failure. The great Tao of heaven and earth had already been engraved before he came to this world. Every part of his body and soul was a product of the great Tao. Right now, that thin sword was going to change the original great Tao, and in turn, change himself. It was just that this process was simply too painful. Not only did that thin sword have a terrifying pressure, its power was also terrifying. Before it had even touched his origin soul, it had already exhausted the power of his origin soul to the limit. If he continued, what he would have to face was really a road to death. But Du Xiaofu was really unwilling to give up like this. This was an opportunity. It was the first time he had used his most unyielding will and firm conviction to condense a thin sword that could change the traces of the great Tao. If he failed the first time, it would leave an unerasable fear in his heart, planting a seed of fear. When he tried again, it would be much more difficult. If others can do it, I can do it too. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth again. Blood seeped out from between his lips and teeth. He steeled his heart and began to control the red-bone horse monkey's origin soul. At the same time, he used the thin sword to approach. Accompanied by unimaginable pain, Du Xiaofu's nerves were about to go numb. It was already extremely painful. At the same time, a series of chi-chi sounds could be heard. His origin soul body began to shrink rapidly, wanting to continue escaping. Freeze for me. Du Xiaofu's heart was filled with extreme ruthlessness. He used almost all of his strength to suppress the red-bone horse monkey's origin soul. This greatly reduced the speed of its escape. Chi-chi, the thin sword shot out like an arrow leaving the bow. It wanted to attack the red-bone horse monkey's origin soul and leave a mark. But as the sword light got closer and closer, the origin soul body trembled violently. At the same time, a terrifying annihilation occurred. It was about to completely disperse. Even if I die, I will stab you once with the sword before I die. Du Xiaofu's throat let out a terrifying roar. He shouted loudly. At the same time, the energy in his body surged violently. All of it was channeled into his Naiwen palace. He tightly controlled his origin soul. All of his energy was squeezed out by him. There was not a trace left. Under such circumstances, Du Xiaofu mustered up all of his energy. He wanted to fight with all of his strength. Even if he died, he wanted to die under the thin sword. He wanted to launch the final attack. Chi! The thin sword whistled through the air. The red-bone horse monkey also let out a final miserable cry. The two finally came into contact for the first time. Immediately after, Du Xiaofu's consciousness completely disappeared. He could not feel anything. Outside his body, the violent purplish gold light instantly dispersed. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared, revealing Du Xiaofu's body. The unique charm in the void also retreated like the tide in an instant, and the void became empty. Du Xiaojing, Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing, who were sitting cross-legged, spat out a large mouthful of blood at the same time. When they opened their eyes, they did not have any spirit to speak of. In just a moment, the three of them seemed to have suffered the most terrifying impact. All of them were heavily injured. Little Xingxing, Martial Uncle Du, Lu Jingyun, Lu Yuxiao, Lu Ying, Long Ke, Long Su and the other experts were all stunned. Everything changed too quickly. Du Xiaofu, who was still full of vigor just a moment ago, suddenly lost all of his vitality. He fell from the sky like a kite that lost its leash. Furthermore, the three experts who came from Shenwu World with him were all heavily injured. They did not even have the ability to stay in the air. They drew 3 straight lines and fell from the sky. Lu Jingyun and the other experts were all stunned. Looking at this scene, they were so shocked that they wanted to die. Everyone's hearts were beating fast. They could not imagine the result that they had sensed. Under their probing, Du Xiaofu had indeed lost all of his vitality. There was no fate at all. Such a sign represented a fact. That was, Du Xiaofu had fallen. How could this be? How could this be? Lu Jingyun, who had always been calm and collected, started to speak incoherently. He tried his best to widen his eyes. He could not believe what he was seeing. Martial Uncle Du, Yu Qing Deity Emperor, the other experts from the 33 heavens and the 3,000 greater worlds were all shocked and felt extreme fear. Du Xiaofu was such an extraordinary talent. How could he have fallen here? This was something that no one could accept. How could he have died? How could he have died? Without him, how could the demon ancestor be killed? Without him, who in this world could have lived through this era? Without him, who could have shown the billions of living beings the path to supremacy? At this moment, many experts felt pain in their hearts. They did not dare to imagine that Du Xiaofu had fallen. The purple-robed young man had always shown them a resolute attitude that would never fall. Just as he'd said, even the heavens, the earth, and that God couldn't stop his footsteps. But now, how could he have fallen? How could he have fallen on the path of enlightenment? Impossible. Martial Uncle Du must still be alive. After a while, Lu Jingyun forcefully put away his shock and fear. Then, he rushed out and caught Du Xiaofu before he hit the ground. Long Ke, Long Su, and the others also came back to their senses. They rushed to little Xingxing, Du Xiaoyao, and Du Xiaojing's sides to check on their current situation. Du Xiaofu actually died like this? At this moment, at the entrance to the 12th level of hell, two figures were preparing to throw themselves into the boundless flames and continue to escape into the depths of the 18 levels of hell. These two figures were Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan. They had escaped before all the experts of the demon race. They did not fall into the encirclement of the experts from the 33 heavens and the 3,000 greater worlds. Because of this, not long after everyone entered the 11th level of hell, the two demon attendants were about to enter the 12th level of hell. However, they had been paying attention to the changes in the battlefield, looking forward to whether or not there would be any changes. However, it was clear that their expectations had been wishful thinking for a long time. But now, Du Xiaofu's sudden appearance caused them to be fiercely stunned. Du Xiaofu is dead. He died at his own hands. After being stunned for a moment, Dongli Qihuang let out a cold laugh that carried an unconcealable joy. A post-celestial actually dared to dream of carving out his own Tao. He simply overestimated himself. This is great. He finally died under his own Tao sword. His body and Tao have disappeared. Chen Yan also spoke. A cold smile hung on the corner of his mouth, and he was indescribably happy. If Du Xiaofu died here, it would be great news for their demon race. Once that brat died, no one in the world would be able to kill Lord Devil Ancestor. Not to mention Lu Xiaoyu, even Pangu and Empyrean Absolute would be helpless against Lord Devil Ancestor's undying body. This day has finally come. The rise of our demon race is unstoppable. Dongli Qihuang was so excited that his entire body trembled. He was so happy that he almost cried. They had been waiting for this day for far too long. Du Xiaofu's existence was like a sharp blade that always hung above the heads of the demon race, constantly reminding them that there was still someone in the world who could pose a fatal threat to Lord Devil Ancestor. Putting aside their experience in Shenwu world in the past, just after coming to the 33 heavens, the two demon attendants had used all their means to kill Du Xiaofu. However, they had failed several times, which was a huge blow to them. That brat was like a monster, always coming back from death's door and escaping their killing intent. But now, they had finally seen the purple-robed young man fall. His vitality had obviously been completely cut off, and there would be no other variables. This time, there won't be any chance for him to come back to life. Suddenly, Qin Yan thought of how Du Xiaofu had died several times in Shenwu world in the past, but in the end, he inexplicably came back to life. He couldn't help but have a strange feeling in his heart. He was a little uncertain. He was afraid that this time, this brat would come back from the dead again, right? Thinking of this, Chen Yan's expression became solemn, and some uncertainty appeared in his eyes. When Dongli Qihuang heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up, and he inexplicably felt that he suddenly couldn't smile. Chapter 2956. What Chen Yan said wasn't without basis. When Du Xiaofu died for the first time in the early years, it was for the sake of the stone dragon, and he'd already been buried in the earth. But a few years later, he'd actually miraculously come back to life. And in the final battle with the demon god, he was only left with a head, his primordial spirit was destroyed, and there was no life left. But in the end, that brat still came back to life, and in one fell swoop he controlled the heavenly laws of Shenwu world. These were the two times that left the deepest impression. Other than that, there were a few other times of life and death, but they were all solved by that purple-robed youth. In other words, Du Xiaofu had already experienced death many times, and each time, his enemies felt incomparably happy. But at the last moment, that joy was shattered again. Following that, Du Xiaofu's cultivation broke through again and again, his strength skyrocketing. At this time, Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan both felt a little flustered. They looked at each other tacitly and saw the shock in each other's eyes. You also think that Du Xiaofu brat won't die so easily? Chen Yan coughed lightly, feeling that his throat was a little dry. He looked at Dongli Qihuang beside him and asked in disbelief. Dongli Qihuang did not say anything and only nervously licked his lips and nodded heavily. In view of the fact that Du Xiaofu had refreshed the world's understanding over and over again over the years, at this time, the two demon attendants felt that the purple-robed youth might really not die like this. Regarding this, they were even more moved than the extremely nervous Lu Jingyun, Lu Yushao, Long Ke, Long Su, and the others. They were even more unwilling to believe that Du Xiaofu would die like this. I really hope he won't wake up again. Chen Yan unconsciously clenched his fists and looked around, no longer in a hurry to escape to the 12th level of hell. He cast his gaze towards Du Xiaofu's direction and quietly stood there, wanting to see Du Xiaofu's final outcome. Du Xiaofu, Dongli Qihuang's expression was exactly the same as Chen Yan's, both of them clenching their fists tightly. In the hearts of the two demon attendants, they hoped that Du Xiaofu would not die. But right now, their hearts were filled with uncertainty. Their intuition told them that the purple-robed youth might suddenly wake up again, and he might become even stronger. However, the two demon attendants were extremely unwilling. They only wanted to see the final result before they could leave. Their greatest hope was that their intuition was wrong and that Du Xiaofu was really dead and would never appear in front of them again. Uncle Master Martial Uncle Du. In the distance, Du Xiaofu, Lu Jingyun's Lu Jingyun. Many of Heaven's Star Lu, of Devil, of the Evenings. There's Yan's to there. After a few rounds of examination, they discovered that Du Xiaofu's body really did not have the slightest trace of life remaining. This was a sign that he was completely dead. On the other side, Long Ke, Long Su, and the others had examined Du Xiaojing, Du Xiaoyao, and Little Xingxing. Fortunately, although they were heavily injured, they still showed signs of life. It was only a matter of time before they returned to peak condition. A genius actually died just like that. Some of the older generation experts from the 33 heavens spoke up, looking at Du Xiaofu with endless pain and regret. Everyone had already confirmed that Du Xiaofu had really perished. His soul core had been obliterated into nothingness, and only an empty body that was still intact remained. It was the power of the Tao that destroyed Martial Uncle Du's soul. This is the greatest hurdle of the realm of carrying Tao, Du Jingyun murmured. He knew a lot about the realm of carrying Tao, so he naturally knew why Du Xiaofu's soul had been destroyed into nothingness. Condensing one's faith and will into a sword was one's own Tao sword. The Tao sword was ferocious, different from the original principles of Yin and Yang, different from the Tao of God Pangu, the demon ancestor, and the others. Living beings formed from the 4 original Tao swords would naturally feel a terrifying fear towards the Tao sword. It was a process that was extremely difficult to overcome. Under Lu Jingyun's perception, he was able to discover that there was still a tiny speck of light in Du Xiaofu's mind. It was tens of thousands of times smaller than a grain of rice, but it was this tiny speck of light that emitted an extremely terrifying aura. Lu Jingyun knew that it was probably a remnant of the Tao sword. It was originally used to carve Tao marks into the soul, but it had become a life-threatening object. The Tao is difficult to go against. Wanting to walk out one's own Tao is easier said than done. Lu Jingyun let out a long sigh and gradually began to accept this result. The Tao was innate, and everything that living beings had was bestowed by the Tao. If one rashly tampered with it, they would naturally suffer a backlash. Since it's a failure, then what's the point of leaving this Tao sword behind? It's better for it to be destroyed along with Martial Uncle Du. Lu Jingyun's eyes dimmed as he sighed. He released his own power and entered Du Xiaofu's mind, enveloping that tiny speck of light. That was Du Xiaofu's Dao sword. It could only pose a threat to Du Xiaofu, but it was completely useless in front of Lu Jingyun. Since Du Xiaofu was already dead, there was no point for this Dao sword to continue existing. Lu Jingyun wanted to erase it and make Du Xiaofu truly fall silent. However, before Lu Jingyun's power could even touch that speck of light, his soul power suddenly felt a surging wave of energy. It was like a raging tide that swept everything away. With this thought in mind, Lu Jingyun stared unblinkingly at Du Xiaofu. He even used the power of his primordial spirit to spy on some movements. He wanted to catch something. In the following time, no one spoke. They were all paying attention to Du Xiaofu's next changes. Where the purple-robed young man was, waves of violent and fierce qi floated out. This power was incomparably powerful and quickly spread to all the 18 layers of hell. The experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 great worlds in the 11th layer of hell, as well as the many experts of the demon race, felt it especially strong. A terrifying pressure enveloped down, suppressing the heads of all living beings, making them feel uneasy. It was even more terrifying than facing the supreme heavenly might. Lu Jingyun and the others knew that this was because of Du Xiaofu's Dao. He had really taken the first step. I really succeeded. Wrapped in endless light, the purple-robed young man slowly opened his eyes, revealing a look of endless surprise. He muttered to himself, almost jumping up to celebrate. At this time, an indescribable feeling arose in Du Xiaofu's heart. He only felt that he was extremely lucky. Previously, when he had made his final gamble, his remaining primordial spirit had almost been completely destroyed by the thin sword. It was also because of this that his entire body had lost its vitality, as if he had died. Even his consciousness and perception had been completely lost. Now that Du Xiaofu had woken up, he knew that it was just an illusion. He had succeeded. Even if only a trace of his primordial spirit was left, it still survived. The small light spot that Lu Jingyun saw in his mind was not the path sword condensed by Du Xiaofu, but a small dot engraved on his primordial spirit. Yes, his primordial spirit was only left with a small dot, and the mark left by the thin sword was only that big. It completely covered the former, and even Lu Jingyun could not detect it. No matter how small the mark is, it is still a Dao that I have walked on my own. It is engraved on my primordial spirit. The corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth curled up, and a smile hung on his face. Even if it was just a mark that was thousands of times smaller than a grain of rice, it was still a Dao mark, and it represented that he had successfully taken the first step. What he needed to do next was to restore the power of his primordial spirit, and then engrave more marks step by step until he reached perfection. At that time, he would truly be in the Dao carrier realm. Begin to restore my strength. Du Xiaofu did not think too much about it, and began to control the power in his body to circulate rapidly. Waves of vast power were mobilized by him, flowing through his limbs and bones, and finally hiding. In his mind's Niwen palace, the primordial spirit that was much smaller than a grain of rice was also rapidly growing. As time passed, it gradually became the size of a bean, then the size of a longan, then the size of a fist, and constantly changing. The form of the red-bone horse monkey appeared once again, and on the forehead of the red-bone horse monkey, there was a small dot of light. That was the mark of Du Xiaofu's Dao. Rumble. In the outside world, the terrifying power turned into a world-destroying storm, rolling and gathering madly with Du Xiaofu as the center. Under the cover of this tide of energy, many powerhouses felt as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them, and it was difficult for them to breathe. Soon, the other layers of the 11th and 18th layers of hell also showed a mysterious scene. The boundless power of yin and yang was vast and mighty, rolling layer by layer, like a huge wave, releasing a terrifying power, gradually forming a yin and yang Tai Chi diagram between heaven and earth. This Tai Chi diagram rotated like a divine wheel, as if it could destroy everything in the world, making one's scalp tingle. It was incomparably terrifying. And as time continued to pass, the yin and yang of the Tai Chi diagram began to fuse, causing the yin and yang dividing line to become somewhat blurry and not as clear as before. Under such circumstances, not only did the pressure in the void not weaken, it became even more blazing, and the terrifying power was extremely vast, causing people to be even more frightened to death. This is the power of the Tao, a powerhouse of the 33 heavens said with endless amazement. For some of the old monsters of the Oblivion realm who had lived for many years, they had been trapped in the third level for many years without being able to form their own Tao. The power of the Tao that the heavens and earth had placed on them was very difficult to change. But today, the Yu Qing Divine Emperor had done it, and this shocked everyone. For countless years in the 33 heavens, apart from the Xiantian realm of Tao from the ancient times, no one has been able to reach this level. I hope that the Yu Qing Divine Emperor's breakthrough will lead to more people having the confidence to reach the Tao carrier realm. There were also people who murmured with anticipation. After the collapse of the 33 heavens in the ancient war, it had greatly limited the upper limit of cultivation, and no one had been able to reach the Tao carrier realm. Of course, that realm was also incomparably ethereal and difficult to estimate, and it was not something that could be reached easily. The power of the Tao, this is a brand new power of the Tao. Under everyone's gazes, the Taiji yin-yang diagram in the sky was incomparably terrifying, especially the blurry yin-yang dividing line in the middle. It was like the thickest thing, and it carried the most terrifying thing. Many powerhouses knew that once Du Xiaofu carved out a complete trace of the Tao, the dividing line would completely fade away, and the separated yin and yang forces would finally merge into one. At that time, Du Xiaofu would be at the peak of the Tao carrier realm, and he would be as powerful as Lu Xiaoyu now. Rumble. The terrifying commotion continued, and the yin-yang diagram was like a dark cloud that hung over everyone's heads, releasing a pressure that made it difficult for them to breathe. But in the end, everything flowed into Du Xiaofu's body like flowing water. When the purple-robed figure appeared in front of everyone again, what surged out was an irresistible pressure. Endless light was emitted from Du Xiaofu's body, making him look like a high and mighty god, extraordinary and independent from the mortal world, overlooking all things. Along with Du Xiaofu's transformation, not far from him, Du Xiaoyao, Du Xiaojing, and Little Xingxing also experienced earth-shaking changes. Their realms had reached the peak of ninth sky of Immortal Realm, which was extremely terrifying. Previously, these three were just high-level Immortal Realm experts, and Little Xingxing was the strongest among them, but he only had the cultivation base of 8th sky of Immortal Realm. Such a terrifying advancement was hard to believe. Needless to say, during the process of Du Xiaofu's advancement, Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, and Du Xiaojing had obtained unimaginable benefits. As creatures from the divine martial world, the three of them had a deep bloodline connection with Du Xiaofu. Of course, they had benefited greatly. If it's like this, all creatures in the divine martial world will benefit greatly. At this moment, a forgotten realm expert from the 3,000 Great Worlds spoke up. It was Lu Youxiao's speculation, but Lu Jingyun denied it because Du Xiaofu hadn't broken through yet, so he hadn't carved his own great Tao. But now, it was different. The purple-cloaked young man had done it so quickly. Of course, the entire divine martial world would benefit greatly. At this moment, the space of that world had started to expand, and the spiritual energy there would be thicker. They're all awake. Let's go and see. When all the terrifying scenes faded away, Long Fault couldn't wait to rush out. He wanted to check on Du Xiaofu, Little Xingxing, and the others. The other experts also nodded and rushed out one after another, flying into the distance. Du Xiaofu retracted his aura when he saw the countless experts heading in his direction. A smile hung on his lips as he looked at them. But suddenly, a terrifying and miserable roar resounded through the sky, and it sounded out from boundless distance, causing the expressions of everyone to tighten abruptly. That roar was so terrifying that it subdued the primordial spirits of many creatures, making them fall from the sky. Chapter 2957. That kid, Du Xiaofu, has really come back to life. Far away from Du Xiaofu and the others, Dongli Qihuang and Qin Yan stood side by side at the entrance to the 12th level of hell, and they watched the situation in the distance. When the violet-robed young man suddenly surged with a ferocious aura, the two devil attendants had already sensed that something was off. In next to no time, they saw that Du Xiaofu had really awakened once more, and he emanated an extremely terrifying, imposing aura. Obviously, that kid, Du Xiaofu, had come back to life. Moreover, he'd successfully taken that leap forward and carved a Dao that belonged to him. Such an outcome caused the hearts of Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan to feel boundless heaviness, and they were filled with hatred, yet they were helpless against it. I hope my lord recovers as soon as possible and restrains Du Xiaofu so as to prevent him from being a threat to the grand plans of my devil race. Dongli Qihuang spoke in a cold voice. The current situation was something they weren't willing to see happen the most. After Du Xiaofu broke through this level, he'd taken a step into the half-step Dao enlightened realm, and he was already capable of surpassing all the experts of the devil race besides the Lord Devil Ancestor. If he was allowed to take another step forward, then even the Lord Devil Ancestor would be extremely threatened at that time. Now it would seem like only the Lord himself would be able to completely suppress Du Xiaofu and prevent that kid from continuing to grow. Let's go quickly. After looking at it for a short moment, Chen Yan spoke in a straightforward manner. Du Xiaofu's strength had improved greatly, and it had far surpassed the two devil attendants. If they continued to stay here and were noticed and pursued by Du Xiaofu, then Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan would probably be driven into a corner. The two devil attendants didn't dare hesitate, and they flashed out with the intention of entering the terrifying hellfire and entering the 12th level of hell. Moreover, they intended to continue deeper until they arrived at the 18th level of hell where the devil ancestor resided. But all of a sudden, a terrifying roar descended, as if it came from the ancient times. It contained endless fury and ferocity, as well as an intense sense of misery. When Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan heard such a voice, they couldn't help but be stunned at the same time. They glanced at each other and saw extreme astonishment in each other's eyes. "Milord!" The two demon attendants blurted out at the same time. With their power, it was not difficult to tell where the howling came from. It came from the 18th level of hell, from their Lord Demon Ancestor. "Oh no, it must be Lu Xiaoyu." Dongli Qihuang's face was so gloomy that it looked like water was about to drip out. His whole person was instantly filled with endless killing intent. "Damned Lu Xiaoyu, how dare you attack my lord?" Chen Yan gnashed his teeth hatefully and really wanted to tear Lu Xiaoyu into pieces. However, he didn't possess that sort of strength. From the terrifying roar just now, it wasn't difficult for him to imagine what my lord was going through. Currently, the demon ancestor was at a critical juncture in his recovery. He couldn't be disturbed in the slightest. Presumably, Lu Xiaoyu also knew this and had actually snuck into the 18th level of hell to attack my lord. This would bring about a serious consequence. If my lord wanted to recover, it would be even more difficult and take a much longer time. "Let's go." The Eastern Flame's Scarlet Phoenix did not say anything else. She waved her arm and rushed into the hellfire beside her. She followed the broken seal and headed towards the 12th level of hell. Chen Yan didn't waste any time and traveled with Dongli Qihuang. They only wanted to enter the 18th level of hell to take a look. If my lord was severely injured, it would be the worst thing for the demons to face. It seems that senior brother has attacked Jiangchen. In the distance, Du Xiaofu's expression changed. He'd also realized this. He knew what senior brother Lu Xiaoyu was trying to do. Lu Xiaoyu's goal was to buy him more time. Fortunately, he'd already made a breakthrough, so his heart relaxed a little. However, Du Xiaofu still didn't dare slack off. If he wanted to truly kill the demon ancestor, he was still far from it. Martial Uncle Du. Soon, Lu Jingyun, Lu Yushao, Long Ke, Long Su, and the other experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds all gathered around Du Xiaofu. After a simple conversation, Du Xiaofu said, "Let's continue to hunt down the demons." He glanced at the space around him. At this time, many demon experts had already fled into the distance. Almost all of them were rushing towards the entrance to the 12th level of hell. Du Xiaofu had caught sight of Dongli Qihuang and Chen Yan, but he wasn't in a hurry to deal with them. In addition, the 9 great demon generals were still trapped in the seal that senior brother Lu Xiaoyu had placed. It was difficult for them to escape. However, many cracks had already appeared on the seal. It wouldn't be long before it completely shattered. Continue to kill. We can't let these demons go so easily. After the commotion caused by Du Xiaofu's breakthrough, a terrifying battle brewed once more. It was about to erupt. The demons panicked and fled with all their might. However, the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds combined could completely crush them in terms of numbers and strength. Kill! An expert of the 3,000 boundless worlds waved the long blade in his hand and shouted. He instantly pounced out and chased after the demons. However, just as he was about to do so, another huge explosion suddenly rang out. The entire world seemed to have been smashed by a huge object. It shook violently and didn't stop for a long time. Everyone felt as if the entire 18th level of hell was tightly grasped by an invisible hand and violently shook. It was as if a huge city wall was trembling and gravel was rolling down. It's Uncle Yanggua, Uncle Xiaolong, and Aunt Xintong. Lu Jingyun quickly understood that this must have been caused by Xiaolong, Di Batyan, Donghuang Taixien, Yanggua, and Lu Xintong. Before they left, they had given some instructions to Lu Jingyun and the others. The first level of hell has been broken. The seal has been completely destroyed. I wonder if the carrier of Dao Realm expert who was the foundation of the array has been rescued alive. The other experts also thought of this problem and couldn't help but think in their hearts. Xiaolong and the others left with Lu Xiaoyu's long blade in order to rescue the 18 carrier of Dao Realm experts who had helped Pangu set up the 18 levels of hell in ancient times. Those experts were the foundation of the array. If they wanted to see the light of day again, they had to break all the seals. Now, the demon race was no longer a concern. Only the demon ancestor, the 9 great demon generals, and a few other experts still posed a threat to the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds. However, the 18 levels of hell could no longer trap them. The only thing that worried many of the experts present was that they didn't know how many of the 18 carrier of Dao Realm experts would be able to appear in front of the world again. They had experienced a terrifying battle in ancient times and exhausted their cultivation to set up the array. After countless years, it would be extremely rare for them to be able to awaken in the present world. Senior brother and brother Xiaolong have already made their move. We should also continue to push forward. Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered as he muttered to himself. Then, his figure instantly pounced on the demons. Kill! Under Du Xiaofu's lead, the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds moved instantly and launched a fierce attack. This time, it's my turn to trample on you. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed as he thought to himself. He quickly caught up with a demon at the first stage of the meditative realm and punched out fiercely. It was as if a ferocious dragon had come out of its nest. It was brazen and peerless. As his punch landed, the body of the meditative realm expert of the Devil Clan exploded into a cloud of blood mist that lingered in the void. In the blink of an eye, an expert died just like that. He didn't even have the slightest strength to struggle. 1. Du Xiaofu withdrew his fist. Then, he shifted his gaze and looked in another direction. His eyes were like lightning, as bright as the sun and as bright as thunder. Previously, the demon race had taken advantage of the many demon generals and wanted to crush the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds. Fortunately, the dragon god and Lu Xiaoyu appeared in time. Otherwise, the situation would have become uncontrollable. Now that everything had been reversed, the 9 great demon generals were sealed and the demon race had lost their top combat strength. Du Xiaofu naturally wanted to get back at them. 2. In the next moment, his purple robe fluttered and his figure rose into the air. He appeared next to another meditative realm expert of the Devil Clan and punched out again. Bang! Accompanied by a dull sound and a scream, the demon was blasted into pieces again. He couldn't be more dead. Du Xiaofu's aura surged. He felt that he had an inexhaustible power at this time. After taking that breakthrough and engraving a little bit of his own Dao, He felt as if his entire being had been sublimated. A little bit of Tao was a qualitative change from nothing to something. It was earth-shattering and could not be mentioned in the same breath. In his eyes, these cultivators in the meditative forgetting state were no match for him. Du Xiaofu felt that even if he were to face 2 demon generals at the same time, he would still be in an invincible position. However, he did not make a move against the 9 great demon generals. He wanted to wait for senior brother Lu Xiaoyu or Xiaolong to return. Under the protection of those powerhouses, he would dare to fight the 9 great demon generals. Otherwise, Du Xiaofu was not strong enough to face 9 people at the same time. Besides, if the 9 great demon generals rushed into the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds, it would be another massacre. Du Xiaofu naturally did not want such a situation to happen. Du Xiaofu shouted softly. His feet stepped on the Great Tao as if he was stepping on the lines of the Great Tao. His entire person carried an indescribable transcendent charm. His robes fluttered in the wind as he punched out again, blasting another devil powerhouse into pieces. The third one. At the same time, such words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth. For the time being, he did not attack the demons below the meditative realm. He specifically targeted the nearby meditative realm experts to attack. Every time he attacked, he killed them easily. Run, run, run. Countless demons seemed to have gone mad as they fled for their lives. In their eyes, Du Xiaofu was like a peerless demon god. He was even more terrifying than them. This guy had the strength to shake the heavens and earth. No one could stop him. In front of him, the meditative realm experts were like little chicks waiting to be slaughtered. They could only be said to be unable to withstand a single blow. He could easily stomp them to death like bugs. Do you think you can escape? Many powerhouses of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds began to howl in excitement. They quickly chased after the demons. Every time they intercepted a demon, several people would swarm them and kill them in a few short moves. Du Xiaofu rushed at the front of the crowd, leading all the powerhouses through the 11th layer of hell and into the 12th layer of hell. Nearby, at least 20 meditative realm demons had died at his hands. And all of this happened in a short period of time. Such a ferocious action caused many powerhouses to be shocked. To the demons, it was like they were facing an abyss of fear. There were only a few meditative realm powerhouses in total. In such a short period of time, so many had died. In addition to the ones that had died at the hands of Lu Jingyun and the others, they had lost almost half of their numbers. The losses were huge. After that, Du Xiaofu no longer continued to chase after the meditative realm powerhouses. Any undying demons that were close to him were all killed by him. Du Xiaofu, I will tear you to pieces. Of the 9 demon generals who were sealed, the desolate fiend demon general roared furiously, his voice filled with uncontrollable anger. Seeing the demons die one by one at the hands of the purple-robed youth, he could no longer bear it. He only wanted to rush out of the light barrier and kill that brat with his axe. Those that had died were all elites of the demon race. Every loss was heart-wrenching. If it was because of Lu Xiaofu, desolate demon general wouldn't be so furious. But the one who had done it was Du Xiaofu. That brat was like an ant just a moment ago, like a shrimp that could be easily crushed to death. But in such a short period of time, he had broken through to such a terrifying level. If you want to fight the Yuqing godly emperor, break through the seal first if you have the ability. You can't even take care of yourself now, and you still care about others. Isn't it just the 9 demon generals? Don't forget that you are all little pigs being raised. The day you come out of the cage is the day you die. You sure like to shout. When you come out, you will cry. The powerhouses of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds began to ridicule them. They looked at the 9 great demon generals with disdain. In their minds, Du Xiaofu was no longer afraid of any of the demon generals. What was the use of desolate demon general shouting now? If he had the ability, he could still be so arrogant when he came out. Who cares about them? Continue to kill. One of the experts said. Then, Everyone from the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds stopped paying attention to the 9 demon generals who were like trapped beasts. They continued to hunt ferociously. One demon after another died at their hands, causing the number of demons to decrease sharply. As they continued to push forward, the crowd could hear a loud roar every once in a while, accompanied by a powerful tremor. They knew that it was the dragon god, Di Badian, Donghuang Taishen Yanggua, and Lu Xintong who were saving the 18 enlightened beings. Every time they heard a tremor, it meant that a layer of the seal had been completely broken and the ancient existence had escaped. I wonder how many of the 18 enlightened beings will be left in the end. Du Xiaofu thought in his heart, feeling extremely emotional. The batch of Dao carriers who were born at the beginning of the ancient era were the luckiest people in the world. They were blessed with unique cultivation conditions, and by observing the evolution of the grand Daos of heaven and earth, they quickly grasped the complete power of the laws and gathered the complete power of the grand Daos. In the end, many of them successfully engraved their own Dao on their own primordial spirits. But at the same time, they were also the most heroic generation. Because of the demon's slaughter, everyone had to throw themselves into the terrifying slaughter. They used their lives in exchange for the continuation of Pangu realm and the survival of many weak creatures. Every time he thought of this, Du Xiaofu felt a deep reverence for those ancient experts. They were the heroes of the ancient era. Without their sacrifice, the 33 heavens would not exist today, and divine battle world would not have been preserved. Based on this train of thought, the existence who created the 3,000 boundless worlds would have fallen at the hands of the demon ancestor. The ancient era of life is long gone, but the demon race still exists. The ancient experts sacrificed themselves in exchange for the world's peace. This is Pangu's Tao of all beings, which affected everyone. Du Xiaofu sighed slightly, and then a special aura rose from his body. He thought to himself, in this era, even if there is no Pangu, no heavenly Lord Daluo, and no enlightened beings, there is still us. The heavy responsibility of exterminating the demon race will be inherited by us, and we will not rest until we die. As he thought about it, he didn't stop the slaughter in his hands. Under Du Xiaofu's lead, the experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds rushed into the depths of the 18 layers of hell with irresistible force. By the time they reached the 14th layer of hell, the demon army was almost completely wiped out. Millions of demons below the meditative realm had been killed. Some of the survivors had fled to various corners and could no longer pose a threat. As for the hundreds of demon clans from the Oblivion realm, they were all either dead or injured. Under Du Xiaofu's deliberate pursuit, almost no one could survive. Of course, Du Xiaofu wouldn't forget the existence of two people, Dongli Qihuang and Xin Yan. Long ago, the two demon generals had fled as soon as they realized the situation was unfavorable. By now, they'd probably been one step ahead of them and had ventured even deeper. Those two will die sooner or later, but first, we have to deal with the 9 demon generals. Du Xiaofu thought to himself, his cold aura spreading out in all directions. He would not allow the 9 demon generals to live and face Jiangchen. Chapter 2958. The 9 demon generals were the strongest force in the demon race, second only to the archfiend ancestor. If they were allowed to enter the 18th layer of hell, who knew what would happen when they encountered Jiangchen? Thus, Du Xiaofu felt that he had to kill them first. Only then would he have the greatest confidence to do more. However, his senior brother Lu Xiaoyu wasn't here. Xiaolong, Di Badian, Donghuang Taishen, Yanggua, and Lu Xintong had all left. Without the protection of those experts, Du Xiaofu didn't dare break the seal his senior brother had placed and release the 9 demon generals all at once. Even though Du Xiaofu's strength had increased greatly, he couldn't withstand the simultaneous attacks of the 9 demon generals. Marshal Uncle Du, let's continue deeper. Father should be back soon. As if reading Du Xiaofu's mind, Lu Jingyun, who was at the side, said to him. His father, Lu Xiaoyu, had entered the 18th layer of hell only to interfere with the archfiend ancestor, not to fight him. Before he'd left, he'd sent a message to Lu Jingyun about his whereabouts. Lu Jingyun guessed that his father, Lu Xiaoyu, should be returning soon. Earlier, the Archfiend ancestor's roar had come from the depths of the 18th layer of hell. Good. Let's go. Du Xiaofu nodded at Lu Jingyun's words. Once senior apprentice brother Lu Xiaoyu returned, the death of the 9 great demon generals would also arrive. He didn't delay any longer, and he continued to lead the way and continued on his journey with the others. However, the experts didn't engage in any more bitter fighting. By now, the demon race had lost most of their battle strength and couldn't cause much of a stir. At Du Xiaofu's command, the immortal realm experts of the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless domains didn't continue deeper. They wouldn't be of much help in the coming battles. Uncle Xiaolong and the others have already broken the seal of the 4th layer of hell. I wonder how many of the ancient experts they rescued survived. Lu Jingyun, who was walking side by side with Du Xiaofu, spoke up again as he advanced. When he said this, Du Xiaofu and the hundreds of meditative realm experts around him fell silent. Their hearts felt heavy. The ancient ancestors had sacrificed too much for the living of Pangu world. Countless years had passed, so they'd arrived in the present world. The Yuan Phoenix, the blood ancestor's blood, had died because all its power, it had died. The 18 experts who sealed the Great Tao must have, the demon realm experts and demons. The number of those realm experts, the number of those who could carry on the heavenly demon world. Reverence that couldn't be restrained arose in the hearts of all the experts present here, and they felt the highest respect towards those 18 experts that had contributed everything to the Tao. The best way for us juniors to repay the kindness of our ancestors is to kill the demon ancestor and return peace to the world. We'll stop the flames of war from spreading. We'll stop the slaughter and let all the living beings in the world live in peace. A meditative realm expert of the 33 heavens sighed and said leisurely. The ancient era had long since passed. Countless experts had fallen in that terrifying battle. However, some things had been passed down, and that was their love for all living beings. Because of the influence of Pangu's Tao, it was deeply imprinted in the bones of the experts of the 33 heavens. It was impossible to erase it. Although the Tao I cultivate is different from Pangu's Tao of living beings, it's not much different in essence. Du Xiaofu nodded. At the same time, he thought the same thing. Pangu's Tao of living beings was to protect all the living beings he created so that they could avoid calamity. Du Xiaofu's greatest desire since he started cultivating was to protect those he cared about and allow them to live in peace. From a certain perspective, Du Xiaofu's Tao was extremely similar to Pangu's Tao. He wanted his family, loved ones, and close friends to live in peace, so he naturally had to inherit the will of the ancient experts. He had to eradicate the demon race and vow to fight the demon ancestor to the end. Why hasn't father returned yet? Du Xiaofu and the others traveled without delay. After spending a considerable amount of time, they finally arrived at the 15th level of hell. At this time, Lu Jingyun's frown grew deeper and deeper, his face filled with endless worry. He glanced at the seal where the 9 demon generals were located. They were also being pulled along by an invisible strength, moving along with them. For many years, the 9 demon generals had been attacking ferociously. Terrifying attacks were launched one after another, fiercely crashing into the outer seal, trying to break free. The seal's light shield had dimmed a lot, and cracks were everywhere. It wouldn't be long before it was completely broken. Senior brother, could it be that you've encountered some unforeseen event? Du Xiaofu had long been on guard and said softly. Senior brother Lu Xiaoyu had been in the 18th level of hell for quite some time. For someone of his level of cultivation, it wouldn't take him too long to break free from these spatial barriers. Moreover, when they were in the 11th level of hell, they had already heard the demon ancestor's tragic roar. Obviously, Lu Xiaoyu had already attacked the demon ancestor and angered him. However, after such a long time, senior brother still hadn't returned. This made Du Xiaofu feel a little uneasy. Let's wait a little longer. If the Lord of the 3,000 upper worlds doesn't return after some time, we'll have to retreat first. A meditated Oblivion Realm expert from the 33 heavens spoke. Everyone nodded when they heard this. Among them, only Du Xiaofu's current cultivation was able to contend with the 9 demon generals. If Lu Xiaoyu delayed for too long, the Forgotten Realm powerhouses wouldn't be able to stop them. However, they weren't afraid. After all, the Dragon God, Debatian, and the others were still on their escape route. As long as they retreated in time, the 9 demon generals wouldn't be able to do much harm to them. Rumble. At this time, another terrifying rumble came from above, causing the entire 18th level of hell to shake violently. Such a commotion was no surprise to Du Xiaofu, Lu Jingyun, and the other powerhouses. It was obvious that Xiaolong, Debatian, Donghuang Taixin, Yanggua, and Lu Xintong had broken the seal of the 5th level of hell, freeing one of the powerhouses who was the Array Foundation. Brother Xiaolong and the others are doing well. Du Xiaofu looked up and muttered. Relatively speaking, rescuing the 18 powerhouses wasn't too difficult. Xiaolong and the others had Lu Xiaoyou's bloody saber, which was more than enough to break the seal. However, what was worrying was that the roar that came from the 18th level of hell hadn't been heard for a long time, and Lu Xiaoyu hadn't returned either. This didn't make sense. Let's get ready to retreat as soon as possible, lest more variables arise. After thinking for a while, Du Xiaofu looked at the many powerhouses around him and said, the 9 demon generals still needed some time to break the seal, but Du Xiaofu didn't dare to take the risk. The best thing to do now was to retreat first and wait for senior brother Lu Xiaoyu to come back before making the next step. If something unusual really happened, even senior brother Lu Xiaoyu would have a hard time dealing with it. As for them, if they didn't have enough room to react, they would be caught off guard and inestimable losses would be incurred. Du Xiaofu wasn't willing to accept such an outcome. Alright. At the side, Lu Jingyun nodded and stopped in his tracks. Hundreds of powerhouses steadied themselves and no longer cared about the 9 demon generals. All of them walked in unison, ready to retreat out of the 18th level of hell. Right at this moment, Du Xiaofu sensed a slight ripple in the void. If it weren't for the great improvement in his cultivation, he wouldn't have been able to notice this subtle movement at all. He looked back and saw a man in green slowly stepping out of the void and appearing in front of him. Senior brother. Du Xiaofu was pleasantly surprised and called out. Upon hearing his words, the other meditative forgetfulness powerhouses turned around instantly. That's right. The man who suddenly appeared was the Lord of the 3,000 Great Worlds, Du Xiaofu's senior brother Lu Xiaoyu. Seeing his appearance, many experts were overjoyed. Since he was able to come back in time, it meant that there weren't too many variables. However, when everyone looked at Lu Xiaoyou's face, they found that his eyebrows were slightly furrowed, as if he was worried about something. When they saw this scene, Du Xiaofu and the others looked at each other in dismay, and their hearts were pounding. Could it be that something unexpected had really happened? Senior brother, did something happen? Du Xiaofu immediately stepped forward and looked at Lu Xiaoyu as he asked. He stared at Lu Xiaoyu without blinking, trying to figure out something from the change in his expression. Just a small change. Lu Xiaoyu didn't hide anything. He nodded and said to the crowd, the demon ancestor's recovery is much faster than I thought. When I attacked him, I found that his power was extremely terrifying. He's not far from his peak. As he spoke, the worry on his face deepened, but he immediately relaxed. How is the demon ancestor now? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and asked Lu Xiaoyu. He was surprised by his senior brother's words. Normally, all of the demon ancestor's movements should have been under his senior brother Lu Xiaoyou's control. There shouldn't have been too much of a deviation. Looking at his senior brother's expression, Du Xiaofu faintly felt that it might not be a small change, but something that could have a huge impact. The demon ancestor's power had unknowingly recovered greatly. Even his senior brother didn't know about it. Perhaps there was something out of the ordinary about this. Don't worry about it for now. Although things have exceeded my expectations, it's all under control. The demon ancestor won't be able to do anything for a while. Lu Xiaoyu waved his hand gently and said, the demon ancestor's power had exceeded his expectations, but under Lu Xiaoyou's attack, he was still greatly disturbed at the critical moment. As such, it would still take a lot of time for him to recover to his peak. That's good. Du Xiaofu heaved a sigh of relief, and his heart relaxed. Since his senior brother said so, it shouldn't be too big of a problem. As for the specifics, he could only take one step at a time and deal with whatever came his way. Boy, you've finally broken through. You've comprehended very quickly. Lu Xiaoyu suddenly changed the topic and looked at Du Xiaofu with a smile. He saw through the purple-robed youth's cultivation at a glance. Even the little black dot branded on the youth's origin spirit in his mind couldn't escape his eyes. For Lu Xiaoyu, who had reached the Pathfinder realm in his early years, this situation could only mean one thing. Du Xiaofu had successfully taken that step into the Pathfinder realm. This is all thanks to senior brother's guidance. Du Xiaofu bowed and saluted Lu Xiaoyu. Du Xiaofu had indeed benefited a lot from his senior brother's explanation of Pangu, Heavenly Lord Absolute Luo, the demon ancestor, and his own Tao. Without his senior brother's explanation, Du Xiaofu felt that he would have to take a lot of detours if he had to rely on his own comprehension. I only gave you a little bit of advice. Even if some ordinary people were to understand these principles, it wouldn't be too difficult. The most important thing is that your own will and conviction are strong. Only then can you truly walk into a new realm. Lu Xiaoyu said with a faint smile. When Lu Jingyun, Lu Yuxiao, Lu Ying, Long Ke, Long Su, and many other third-level meditative realm experts heard this, they all nodded their heads at the same time, each and every one of them like chicks pecking at rice. They fully agreed with Lu Xiaoyu because if it wasn't for Du Xiaofu's strong will, unshakable conviction, and unyielding will, it would absolutely be impossible for Du Xiaofu to step into the half-step Tao enlightened realm so easily. If it were that easy, they would have reached that step long ago after so many years. They wouldn't still be stuck in the third stage of meditative realm. Even so, when Du Xiaofu broke through, he suffered a terrifying ordeal and almost died. At the same time, many experts were frightened. Our temperament still needs to be tempered even more. An old man with a white beard sighed softly and said. When the others heard this, they nodded again in agreement. Breaking through the Pathfinder realm and engraving one's own Tao wasn't just about the fusion of power or sufficient comprehension. Most importantly, it was about tempering one's temperament. Du Xiaofu was much younger than any of them, but the things he'd experienced were things none of them had ever experienced before. It was no wonder that the purple-robed youth had surpassed countless people in just a few thousand years of cultivation. He stood towering above countless beings in the 33 heavens and the 3,000 universes. Senior brother, given my current strength, do you think I can kill Jiangchen? Du Xiaofu's sudden question made the experts present perk up their ears. In their imaginations, Du Xiaofu would need to complete his Tao before he could contend with Jiangchen. However, there wasn't much time left. The fiend ancestor's recovery was imminent. They couldn't wait for Du Xiaofu to fully mature. Thus, everyone perked up, eager to hear what the master of the 3,000 universes, Lu Xiaoyu, had to say. You little brat. Lu Xiaoyu couldn't help but laugh. He stared at Du Xiaofu for a moment, then retracted his smile and said solemnly, I never expected you to reach the Pathfinder realm in the shortest time possible. That's too difficult for you. Before the fiend ancestor fully recovers, it's practically impossible. Therefore, when the real battle begins, I'll be the one to deal with the fiend ancestor. Before he fully recovers, I'm confident I'll be able to exhaust him. When that happens, I'll need Xiaolong, Master, Big Brother, Xintong, and the others to take action together. Once the fiend ancestor is completely suppressed, it'll be your turn to kill him. At the end of his speech, Lu Xiaoyu's expression also showed a bit of ruthlessness. From this, it was clear that his battle with Jiangchen would be incredibly fierce. Even he himself would have to face a great challenge. So that's how it is. Du Xiaofu and the others understood. So Lu Xiaoyu's plan was for him to exhaust the fiend ancestor's strength, then have the half-step Pathfinder realm experts swarm him and keep him occupied. Finally, Du Xiaofu would be able to kill him. Of course, if your cultivation can reach a higher level, it'll be much easier for us to kill him. Lu Xiaoyu's tone changed and he smiled at Du Xiaofu. Lu Xiaoyu didn't seem too afraid of the battle with the fiend ancestor. Everything was going according to plan. As long as there weren't any major variables, he didn't have to worry about the final outcome. The only thing he needed to pay attention to was the fiend ancestor's final counterattack. That was absolutely terrifying. Senior brother, I have another question. Du Xiaofu nodded. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and said, "You told me a long time ago that I am the only one in this world who can truly kill the demonic ancestor. However, I don't understand why." This was something Du Xiaofu had always wondered, but Lu Xiaoyu had never told him. Naturally, Du Xiaofu didn't take the initiative to ask. But these past few years, the two devil attendants had been determined to kill him. Presumably, it was for the same reason as Lu Xiaoyu. He couldn't understand. The fiend ancestor had an indestructible body. Even Pangu and Exalted Celestial, two fiend gods from the primal chaos, couldn't kill him. How could he possibly do it? This was indeed an inexplicable matter. Father. Lu Jingyun, Lu Yushao, Lu Ying, Long Ke, Long Su, and the other meditative realm experts all stared at Lu Xiaoyu like curious babies. That question wasn't only puzzling Du Xiaofu, but also puzzling in everyone's hearts. Like Du Xiaofu, they all wanted to know the answer. But obviously, Lu Xiaoyu didn't intend to tell them now. The corners of the azure-robed man's mouth curled into an unfathomable smile, and he said two words that almost made everyone spit out blood at the same time. Chapter 2959. Du Xiaofu rubbed his nose. Facing senior brother Lu Xiaoyou's teasing expression, he almost fainted. Not only him, but many of the surrounding experts also dug their ears, feeling a little dizzy. The Lord of the 3,000 boundless worlds actually had such a childish side to him. At this moment, everyone felt that their brains had short-circuited. They were clearly chatting seriously just now. Why were they suddenly being teased? Don't be like this. Seeing everyone's expressions, Lu Xiaoyu coughed lightly and explained, "These things will naturally be known when the time comes. There's no need to rush now." After he said this, everyone's expressions relaxed a little. Du Xiaofu did not ask any more. Senior brother Lu Xiaoyu naturally had his reasons for not telling him for now. Xiaolong and the others are not slow either. They have already entered the 6th layer of hell. Then, Lu Xiaoyu released the power of his primordial spirit and learned the current situation of Xiaolong, Di Batian, Donghuang Taixien, Yanghua, and Lu Xintong. The 5 of them were not slow. With the help of blood, they broke through layer after layer of seals and entered the 6th layer of hell. This was the mission that Lu Xiaoyu gave them. With the 5 of them working hard, they broke through layer after layer very quickly. Senior brother, can you sense if the 5 experts who broke through the seals are still alive? Du Xiaofu could also sense some specific things and knew the movements of Xiaolong and the others. However, compared to Lu Xiaoyou's perception, it was still a little vague. He really wanted to know how many of the 5 experts who were rescued had survived. Hearing Du Xiaofu's question, Lu Xiaoyu let out a soft sigh. Then, he said in a low voice, "The powerhouses in the 1st, 2nd, and 4th levels of hell have all perished. However, the other 2 experts still have their auras." This made many of the experts present look solemn. At the same time, they could not help but feel a deep pain in their hearts. Those were the experts from ancient times who had broken through the 5 layers of hell. However, only 2 people in the 3rd and 5th layers survived. There were still 13 layers of hell. According to this probability, only 6 or 7 people would be able to walk out of the seals alive in the end. This made everyone feel heavy. The losses caused by the ancient war were too great. While everyone was feeling gloomy, Lu Xiaoyou's next words gave them a heavy blow. The 2 seniors who survived are also on the verge of death. If we don't treat them, I'm afraid they can only face the fate of death. Lu Xiaoyou's eyes narrowed as he solemnly said. He sensed that the 2 experts were put in the independent space word by Xiaolong. And the 2 experts, of course. But, they were in was of their words word there. After countless years, therein is their body was, you must save them. They are the ancestors of all living beings, the protectors of the 33 heavens. Since there is still a day when they can see the light of day again, How can we not open our eyes and look at this wonderful world? Du Xiaofu clenched his fists and gritted his teeth as he spoke. That's right. Once we have completely eradicated the demon race and defeated the demon ancestor, we must take those surviving ancient experts and show them the world. We must show them that all their efforts in ancient times were not in vain. The eyes of some of the elders of the 33 heavens were already red and sparkling. In the past, when the world was still peaceful, no one knew of the sacrifices made by those ancient sages. But with the constant movements of the demon race in these past years, many secrets emerged once more and became known to countless beings. Everyone's hearts were naturally filled with boundless reverence. They hated that they could not have been born in ancient times and fought side by side with the heroes of the past. 3 out of 5. If we want those 3 fallen ancestors to rest in peace, we must defeat the demon race. Du Xiaofu said in a deep voice, his knuckles cracking. Then 2 sharp lights surged out from his eyes. Like 2 sharp swords, they pierced through the void and 2 chaotic black holes appeared. It was incomparably terrifying. He cast his gaze into the distance. That was where the 9 great demon generals were sealed. Everything that the demon race has done in the ancient times must be paid back in the present age. We must use their blood to wash away the calamity that the beings of Pangu world suffered in the past. After Du Xiaofu finished speaking, there was a clang and the heavenly palace of purple gold appeared in his hand. It released a bright light and a terrifying aura of sharpness surged. As Du Xiaofu's strength increased, the grade of the heavenly palace of purple gold also increased. It was 1,000 times more terrifying than before. Since you're ready, junior brother, let's begin the hunt. Between Lu Xiaoyou's brows, a substantial killing intent spread out. He suddenly flicked his finger and a blade light flew out, chopping towards the seal around the 9 great demon generals. Rip! Under Lu Xiaoyou's attack, the seal that was unbreakable for the 9 great demon generals was easily torn apart like tofu, shattering into pieces of energy and disintegrating. Swish, 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 swish. The moment they broke free of the seal, the 9 great demon generals soared into the sky and quickly fled into the distance. They didn't dare to stay for a moment and fled with infinite fear. What a joke! At this moment, the Lord of the 3,000 worlds, Lu Xiaoyu, was present. If they wanted to live, they could only flee with all their might. Can you escape? The corners of Lu Xiaoyou's mouth curved into a smile as he spoke with a cold aura. In his eyes, the 9 great demon generals were no different from 9 slightly larger ants. Now was not the ancient era. After their strength was greatly reduced, they couldn't even compare to half-step Dao raising realm experts, let alone Lu Xiaoyu at his peak strength. Junior brother, I'll leave the rest to you. Lu Xiaoyu didn't look at Du Xiaofu, but said to him, leave it to me. Before the 9 great demon generals enter the 18th layer of hell, none of them will survive. Du Xiaofu snorted coldly and said in a low voice. Then, with the purple gold heavenly tower in hand, he slowly attacked. After breaking through, Du Xiaofu's speed had reached the extreme, and it didn't take long for him to catch up to the desolate demon general. Do you think I'll let you escape? These words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth as he slashed down with his sword, bringing with it boundless swordlight that cut through all obstacles and reached the desolate demon general's back in an instant. The sword light was so terrifying that it seemed to be able to destroy the world. In an instant, the entire world was cut open, and a terrifying chaotic passage appeared that stretched all the way to the desolate demon general's position. This was the first time Du Xiaofu attacked after breaking through to half-step Dao raising realm, and he displayed his terrifying side. The boundless power was mixed with his own Dao, and there was a strange charm circulating around it that was different from all the laws and logos in the world. Du Xiaofu, how dare you stop me? The desolate demon general suddenly shouted, incomparably furious. Without thinking, he turned around and raised the blood fiend axe in his hand into the sky. It enlarged countless times, and was even more majestic than the world's largest mountain. It directly covered half of the sky and came crashing down. Rumble! The entire world trembled and shook under this axe, and the void disintegrated one after another, shattering into pieces. The desolate demon general was really angry, but Du Xiaofu's strength made him tremble, so he didn't dare to lower his guard in the slightest. He blocked it with all his strength. After a short while, the two absolutely terrifying attacks collided and then exploded. Chi 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 chi. Du Xiaofu's sword light was incomparably bright, and in an instant, it cut through the desolate demon general's axe shadow. It was as if it had cut through a mountain, and it made a terrifying sound. At the same time, accompanied by the endless power of shattering, the entire world was filled with a terrifying aura. Everything that came into contact with was turned into chaos and nothingness, annihilated into dust. The two different forces frantically attacked and devoured each other. In the end, Du Xiaofu's sword light dimmed by more than half, but at this time, the desolate demon general's axe shadow had been completely destroyed. The blood fiend axe's main body also returned to his hand after a huge tremor. Du Xiaofu's sword light's momentum didn't decrease, and it fiercely chopped down, heading straight for the desolate demon general's head. The desolate demon general let out a terrifying roar from his mouth, piercing through gold and splitting stone. He shouted arrogantly, and the demonic chi all over his body surged. All of his strength was mobilized by him, forming a powerful defense that pervaded the surface of his body. At this time, it was already too late to dodge Du Xiaofu's sword light. The desolate demon general could only use all of his strength to carry out the final defense. Rumble. It was just that in the midst of a terrifying rumble, his figure was thoroughly chopped by the sword light, like a piece of rock being struck flying out. Outside his body, that protective shield formed from demonic chi also collapsed all of a sudden. Poowork. The desolate demon general sprayed out a mouthful of fiend blood from his mouth, his eyes instantly turning a few shades grayish-white. Du Xiaofu's strength was too strong, no idea how many times stronger compared to the past, far from what the desolate demon general currently could compare to. With such a collision, he suffered quite a bit of injury. But fortunately, he laid down that layer of defense at the last moment, and Du Xiaofu's sword light also had the majority of its power dissipated by his axe shadow, because it did not bring him too serious of an injury. I said before, you can't escape. Opposite, Du Xiaofu opened his mouth coldly once more, taking another step out, heading straight for the desolate demon general. Layer after layer of boundless energy erupted from his body, like a deep abyss, incomparably vast. Du Xiaofu, this general must kill you. The desolate demon general roared, unable to contain his anger. The hatred in his heart towards Du Xiaofu had already reached the point where it could not be any greater. This purple-robed youth's growth was too fast. From when they first met, his cultivation was only comparable to the second stage of meditative oblivion realm. All the way until now, he had already reached the half-step carrier realm. This made the desolate demon general more and more furious the more he thought about it. The existence that was like a tiny ant in front of him back then was actually able to cause such terrifying damage to him. He could not help but feel endless regret. If he had known that this would happen, even if he had to give it his all back then, he would have cut down Du Xiaofu under his axe first. But this kind of regret was clearly too late now. The desolate demon general did not have time to think more. Du Xiaofu raised his sword and attacked again. Origin Void-Slaying Sword, kill. Such a long roar came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth, shaking the sky like thunder, the roar splitting heaven and earth. He immediately unleashed his strongest killing move. Endless origin power gathered crazily, and with his body as the center, it started to spin rapidly. Within this energy, there was the origin energy of laws and the origin energy of the Great Tao. Du Xiaofu mixed them together, using the two attributes of yin and yang to divide them, and then finally fused them together to form the most terrifying sword. Buzz buzz buzz. When this sword light was formed, a domineering aura appeared in the void. Above the sword light, the power of the Great Tao flowed endlessly, showing the most perfect laws and principles, terrifying for no reason. Uncle Master Du's current strength is really frightening. In the distance, Lu Jingyun, Lu Yuxiao, Lu Ying, Long Ke, Long Su, and the others all looked at this sword in shock, their hearts unable to calm down. Every time the Yuqing Divine Emperor breaks through, It is incomparably terrifying. This time, he has reached the half-step carrier realm, and it is even more so. If the 9 demon generals were to fight him alone, they would really be annihilated one by one. An old man from the 33 heavens spoke. Everyone could see how terrifying Du Xiaofu's current strength was. Although these people could not understand the power contained in Du Xiaofu's sword, they could tell that the powerful desolate demon general could no longer be arrogant in front of him. My junior brother is naturally not an ordinary person. Otherwise, after so many years in the divine martial world, why would I choose him? Lu Xiaoyu quietly watched the situation on the battlefield as he muttered to himself. Du Xiaofu was someone he had his eyes on, and along the way, he had never disappointed him. On the other hand, the purple-robed youth had only exceeded his expectations, bringing shock and surprise to the world time and time again. Now that he had displayed such strength, Lu Xiaoyu was naturally very happy to see it. Under such circumstances, many experts from the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds watched the battle with relaxed expressions. However, unlike these people, the other 8 demon generals, except for the desolate demon general, each of them had a heavier heart than the last. Du Xiaofu is not the same as before. If the desolate demon general fights him alone, I'm afraid he will lose. The blood god demon general's eyes were deep as he fled while looking at the situation behind him. If I knew that kid would reach such a level so quickly, I would have killed him back then no matter what. The Ming Luo demon general's face was so dark that it was about to drip water. Like the desolate demon general, he was extremely angry. The other demon generals were also feeling the same. They were all filled with hatred for Du Xiaofu. When most of them first met Du Xiaofu, that kid was just an ant-like existence. However, things had changed and the situation had been reversed. If any of the demon generals were to fight him alone, it would be difficult for them to escape. Let's attack together. Otherwise, it won't be long before we are all killed by him. The fierce locust demon general said, his words brewing a heavy killing intent. For the 9 great demon generals, the only way to survive now was to join forces to prevent Du Xiaofu from killing them one by one. If we join forces, Lu Xiaoyu will not stand idly by. On the other side, the fleeing shadow demon general said coldly, his whole body shrinking in the dark hood. As he spoke, he glanced in the direction of Lu Xiaoyu. His whole body involuntarily trembled with deep fear. Hearing the words of the fleeing shadow demon general, the other 7 demon generals fell into a moment of silence. As the fleeing shadow demon general had said, Lu Xiaoyu would not sit idly by and watch them join forces to deal with Du Xiaofu. The reason why he had not killed the 9 of them was that he wanted to use them as sacrifices for Du Xiaofu's sword. Just like what Long Xian had said at the beginning, the 9 of them had been treated like little piglets. Now was the time to be released from the cage. The thoughts of the 8 demon generals spun like lightning, each of them thinking of many things. They really wanted to swarm up and take down Du Xiaofu, but if Lu Xiaoyu attacked from the side, even if the 9 of them joined forces, they would still have no chance. He was a powerhouse at the peak of his strength. Even if the demon ancestor appeared now, he might not be a match for him. We can't care so much. If we don't kill Du Xiaofu, we won't be able to live either. Even if Lu Xiaoyu wants to interfere, we have to think of a way to kill Du Xiaofu first. After a long while, the demon general duo you seem to have made the most firm decision and said coldly. He quickly communicated with the other 7 and came up with a plan. He vowed to cause great trouble to Lu Xiaoyu and Du Xiaofu's plan. Let's go! Then, the Scarlet Flame Demon General's body suddenly stopped. With a wave of his arm, the 8 great demon generals all moved together and charged towards Du Xiaofu. Terrifying demon chi surged in the void, like balls of black clouds oppressing the heavens and earth. It was incomparably terrifying. The 8 demon generals all had the same goal, and that was to take down Du Xiaofu. To the demon race, the purple-robed young man was a must-kill. If they could kill him, even if the 9 great demon generals all fell, all of Lu Xiaoyu's plans would be in vain. In order to achieve this goal, they decided to take a risk. No matter how a lamb to the slaughter jumps, how can it change its fate? Seeing the actions of the 8 demon generals, Lu Xiaoyu said softly from afar, a mocking smile on his lips. Of course, he could see through the thoughts of the 8 great demon generals, but in the face of absolute strength, no matter how beautiful their thoughts were, they were nothing but a dream that only existed in beautiful dreams. Today, this hunt was prepared for Du Xiaofu. Lu Xiaoyu had enough strength to guarantee that the 9 great demon generals would not have the slightest chance to resist. Chapter 2960. As Lu Xiaoyu spoke, his eyes turned cold as he looked at the 8 demon generals' actions. Right at this moment, Du Xiaofu and the desolate fiend demon general collided once more. The Origin Void Slayer sword carried a tremendous force and directly blasted apart the desolate fiend demon general's hatchet shadow. Following that, the sword light's momentum did not decrease. It suddenly hit the desolation demon general's figure and sent him flying. When Du Xiaofu executed this move with his current strength, it was incomparably terrifying. It possessed the power to break apart everything in the world. A single sword tore open the chest of the desolate fiend demon general, revealing the moving organs within. In the void, demonic blood splattered, corroding everything and emitting a chaotic aura. Du Xiaofu die. At this moment, the Blood God Demon General, Ming Luo Demon General, Qiyan Demon General, Xiong Locust Demon General, and Duo Yu Demon General had already arrived. Just as Du Xiaofu defeated the Desolation Demon General and before he could retract his aura, they arrived with an earth-shattering attack. The 5 experts used almost all of their strength, condensing it into a terrifying and boundless energy mountain. It directly pressed down, as if it could crush everything in its path. The entire world trembled under such an attack. Rumbling sounds were incessant, and chaos appeared one after another. The monstrous demonic aura condensed in one place. It had the thickest aura, destroying everything and crushing the heavens. Block Lu Xiaofu. As long as we can delay him for a while, we can finish off that brat Du Xiaofu. In another direction, the Luan Su Demon General, Evading Shadow Demon General, and Shrouded Soul Demon General shouted. Their actions were different from the other 5. Instead, they blocked the path between Du Xiaofu and Lu Xiaofu. The 8 demon generals' thoughts were simple. They wanted to use 3 demon generals to block Lu Xiaofu with all their strength. As long as they could buy some time and give the other 5 an opportunity, they might be able to kill Du Xiaofu. Dreams are plentiful, but reality is bony. On the other side, the corner of Long Kei's mouth curled into a strange smile. Looking at the actions of the 8 great demon generals, he could not help but ridicule. Just 3 demon generals and you want to stop Uncle Lu? Isn't this a little too whimsical? In Long Fault's knowledge, Lu Xiaoyu's strength was simply not something those 9 great demon generals could match. Even if all 9 of them worked together, they wouldn't be able to stop him, not even for a moment. The other party wanted to hold Uncle Lu back so that they could forcefully kill Uncle Du. This plan was probably going to fail. Kill! The 5 demon generals howled and moved ferociously. Above the mountain peak formed by the terrifying energy, a boundless aura spread out. It was like a raging sea, roaring without end. Under the pressure of this power, even Du Xiaofu, who was in the middle of it, found it difficult to breathe. Although the 9 great demon generals had lost a lot of their strength, the 5 of them attacking with all their strength still made him feel an incomparably huge pressure. Du Xiaofu had just broken through to the half-step Dao realm, so it was impossible for him to be arrogant enough to think that he could fight against 5 alone. That's a pretty good idea, but how could I let you succeed so easily? Du Xiaofu was not a fool, so how could he just stand there and let the 5 demon generals kill him? His entire body's aura surged, giving off a vast and majestic aura. In a hurry, he set up layer after layer of tight protection, covering his body within. At the same time, Du Xiaofu let out a terrifying dragon roar. The Cyan spirit armor was unleashed by him, transforming into the body of a Cyan dragon. It was like a terrifying mountain ridge lying across the void. When the 5 great demon generals attacked him, Du Xiaofu simply did not have any extra time to prepare a new attack. He could only use these methods in a short period of time. Rumble. The terrifying energy mountain collapsed, carrying with it the momentum to crush everything valiant and unstoppable. The energy light shield outside Du Xiaofu's body collapsed layer by layer, turning into fragments and scattering in all directions. He didn't care about this at all, and he allowed the terrifying energy to descend like a mountain and drown him within it. Relying on the strength of the Cyan Spirit armor, Du Xiaofu was confident that he could block the full attack of the 5 demon generals in a short period of time. In the face of absolute power, any method is futile. On the other side, Lu Xiaoyu glanced at Du Xiaofu's actions and could not help but smile. Seeing the other 3 demon generals blocking in front of him, he raised a palm and slowly pushed it forward. This palm strike looked ordinary and did not emit any energy fluctuations. However, in the next moment, the demon general Luan Su, the demon general Evading Shadow, and the demon general Hun felt an overwhelming force attacking them. In an instant, it descended on their bodies. This was only the fluctuation produced by the terrifying power. The most terrifying power had yet to truly descend, and such a ferocious result had already occurred. "Block it!" The demon general Luan Su shouted loudly. His originally ethereal figure became even more elusive, as if he was about to fade away. The great force that Lu Xiaoyu had unleashed carried a terrifying Dao force, making it difficult for him to breathe. "Block it. We just need to buy some time." The demon general Evading Shadow and the demon general Hun Su also let out a loud howl. They had activated all of their strength and used all of their strength to block it. The power of the 3 entangled together, forming a terrifying light screen. It was as if the Milky Way had descended from the 9 heavens. It blocked in front of them, wanting to block Lu Xiaoyu's attack. Rumble. Just as the 3 demon generals organized a monstrous defense, a dull sound spread out. It was as if thunder had struck in June. It was earth-shattering. At this moment, the firmament and the earth trembled. The rules of the great Tao prostrated themselves. All of the invisible order in the 18 levels of hell was disrupted in the blink of an eye. It was as if they were about to be wiped out. Under the terrifying impact, the terrifying light screen formed by the demon general Luan Su, the demon general Hun Su, and the demon general Hun Su looked like a festering dam. Under the violent impact of the flood, it did not have the slightest ability to resist and directly collapsed. Then, the flood became even more powerful. It flowed for 1,000 miles and moved ferociously. It continued to surge into the distance. The 3 demon generals were like 3 small worms. They rolled and swayed in the endless mountain flood, unable to control themselves. Lu Xiaoyu's power was too powerful and terrifying. The endless energy swallowed them and they were about to suffocate. Oh no! On Du Xiaofu's side, the 5 demon generals who were besieging the Azure Dragon's body also became nervous at this moment. Their hearts were filled with endless shock. The 5 of them looked over and saw a terrifying wave surging over. It carried an unstoppable force and was about to swallow them whole. Rumble. By the time the 5 great demon generals reacted, the boundless wild tide had already arrived and wrapped around the 5 figures in an instant. Immediately after, the energy mountain that was crushing Du Xiaofu's body was also scattered and immediately disintegrated. It did not even have the slightest ability to resist. Phew! Du Xiaofu felt the pressure on his body loosen. The Azure Dragon's body transformed and he returned to his human form. He watched in horror as the 8 demon generals were swept up into the sky by the terrifying power. They were no different from a few bedbugs. In another direction, the desolate fiend demon general, who had been suppressed by Du Xiaofu, dodged and was not swept up. One could see that the desolate fiend demon general's eyes were filled with intense shock, as if he was about to die from shock. They had never truly seen Lu Xiaoyu's strength, but in the estimation of the 9 demon generals, he was probably much stronger than them at their peak. But from the looks of it, it wasn't just much stronger, it was simply too much stronger. Is Lu Xiaoyu really at the Dao Carrier realm? Taking advantage of this opportunity, the desolate fiend demon general did not dare to stay any longer. He quickly left Du Xiaofu and rushed towards the 16th level of hell. Now that Lu Xiaoyu was present, being able to escape with his life was the best outcome. How could he have the chance to resist? Do you think I'll let you escape? Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed as he once again brazenly attacked. The 9 demon generals were specially left behind by his senior brother Lu Xiaoyu for him to use as a training ground. Du Xiaofu naturally would not let go of such an opportunity. His figure rushed up and quickly chased after the desolate fiend demon general. He waved the purple gold heavenly tower in his hand, and a resplendent sword light shot out. You'd better not jump around too much. Otherwise, I don't mind personally sending you on your way. On the other side, after Lu Xiaoyu had disintegrated the defense and attack of the 8 great demon generals, he said these words. Then, with a light wave of his sleeve, the energy waves that filled the sky instantly dissipated and disappeared, as if they had never appeared. The 8 demon generals, who were unable to control themselves, immediately rushed out one by one, and rushed into the distance without daring to look back. Lu Xiaoyu's strength was terrifying. The terrifying power contained in his every move was too oppressive. To the 9 demon generals, Lu Xiaoyu was no different from a god. He was powerful and looked down on the world. Run, run, run. The Blood God Demon General, Underworld Demon General, Scarlet Flame Demon General, Fierce Locust Demon General, Serene Demon General, Luansu Demon General, Evading Shadow Demon General, and Shroud Demon General were in a panic, and they quickly fled like stray dogs. They didn't dare to have any superfluous thoughts. Now, besides running for their lives, they didn't have any thoughts of causing trouble. It was impossible to kill Du Xiaofu. With Lu Xiaoyu present, even if the demon ancestor came, it would be very difficult to kill Du Xiaofu with his own strength. To think that we, the 9 demon generals, have been reduced to little pigs to be slaughtered. At this moment, Ming Luo Demon General's heart was filled with endless sorrow. During the ancient times, the 9 great demon generals rebuked the heavens and the earth, and they roamed freely through the world without anyone being able to stop them. How ferocious and peerless was that? But in the present world, after breaking free from the seal of the 18 layers of hell, they wanted to follow the demon ancestor to conquer the 33 heavens again and turn the world into a demon's domain. Who would have thought that in this generation, when there was no Pangu, no exalted celestial absolute, and no dozens of other Tao givers, there would be a Lu Xiaoyu and a Du Xiaofu who all of the devil folk wanted to kill. The fate of the 9 demon generals had also taken a bizarre turn. From being invincible in ancient times, they were now fleeing like rats. It was really sad and ridiculous. Lu Xiaoyu won't attack us easily. Once we find an opportunity, we will immediately kill Du Xiaofu. This time, we can't be careless. The Scarlet Flame Demon General's eyes narrowed as he transmitted his voice to the others. When Lu Xiaoyu attacked just now, the 8 of them didn't suffer much damage. Obviously, Lu Xiaoyu didn't want to kill them with his own hands. He just left the 9 demon generals for Du Xiaofu to practice on. Understanding the situation, the Scarlet Flame Demon General felt that there would always be an opportunity to combine their strength to deal a fatal blow to Du Xiaofu. It's settled. The Fierce Locust Demon General gritted his teeth and said hatefully. He quietly glanced back. Sure enough, the azure-robed man, Lu Xiaoyu, didn't have any intention of attacking them again. He just followed behind them from afar, watching the 9 demon generals' movements. After making a new round of plans, the 8 demon generals didn't say anything more. They all rushed forward, heading straight for the entrance of the 16th layer of hell. At the same time, everyone was secretly cheering for the Desolation Demon General in their hearts, hoping that he could hold on a little longer. Otherwise, the 9 of them would really be defeated one by Du Xiaofu. Kill! Behind the Desolation Demon General, Du Xiaofu slashed out with his sword, shaking heaven and earth. The sword trembled, and a bright light burst out. It was extremely frightening. Du Xiaofu! The Desolation Demon General was incomparably angry. Du Xiaofu was chasing him closely, making it difficult for him to escape. After this purple-robed youth's strength rose greatly, it already far exceeded what he could handle. He was completely suppressing him. The Desolation Demon General was clear in his heart that if nothing unexpected happened, he would likely be the first of the 9 demon generals to be killed. But he didn't have the slightest better solution to all of this. I'll send you on your way first. There will come a day when your Lord Demon Ancestor will meet up with you all. Du Xiaofu said coldly, controlling the purple gold heavenly tower to descend. At the same time, he let out a long shout from his mouth, severing 3 worlds. Voila! When this voice fell, the vault of heaven and earth trembled. But time and space seemed to have frozen, showing a sense of stagnation in their operations. The Desolation Demon General raised the great axe in his hand high, but he was unable to chop it down. Under the influence of Du Xiaofu's power, his movements became sluggish. It looked like his limbs had rusted, his movements becoming stiff. However, Du Xiaofu's sword light was not affected in the slightest. Under the Desolation Demon General's horrified gaze, it suddenly chopped onto his body. Poowork. Following a dull sound that spread out, the Desolation Demon General's body was abruptly split apart, split into 2 from the middle. These 2 halves of the body slowly fell to the sides, spraying out endless devil blood from within, dyeing heaven and earth red, corroding the void. A woo, a shrill howl echoed through the air. Under Du Xiaofu's gaze, from the Desolation Demon General's broken body, a cluster of scarlet light shot out to the sky, sweeping into the distance in a blink of an eye, wanting to escape. This was the Desolation Demon General's primordial spirit. After his physical body was chopped apart, he could no longer continue staying inside. The result of doing so could only be being crushed by Du Xiaofu together. Just a dying struggle. Du Xiaofu's lips curled into a sneer. He suddenly shook his purple robes and rushed out, chasing after the primordial spirit. When he passed by the Desolation Demon General's physical body, Du Xiaofu's aura burst forth, transforming into thousands of sharp sword lights. They spun and slashed wildly, slicing the 2 halves of the body into countless pieces that danced in the void. The Desolation Demon General can't hold on any longer. In front, the Blood God Demon General, Ming Luo Demon General, and the other demon generals sensed this scene, and their hearts were incomparably bleak. The Desolation Demon General's powerful strength was still unable to hold on for too long in Du Xiaofu's hands. That remaining primordial spirit would probably not be able to struggle any longer. The purple-robed youth's strength had increased too quickly. At this time, the demon generals' hearts were once again filled with intense regret. They only hated that they had underestimated Du Xiaofu back then, allowing him to escape again and again. Otherwise, with the combined strength of several demon generals, even if that kid had 100 lives, he would not be alive today. However, it was already too late to think about all this now. No matter how much regret the 8 demon generals felt, it was impossible for them to turn back time and choose again. Desolation cannot die. None of us 9 demon generals can die so easily. The Blood God Demon General's eyes were incomparably cold. It was as if his skin had been peeled off, and scarlet blood flowed from his body. He looked incomparably terrifying. He spoke with a heavy voice, speaking to the others around him. That's right. We must think of a way to stop Du Xiaofu. The Red Flame Demon General also nodded solemnly, expressing his agreement with the Desolation Demon General's words. There were a total of 9 demon generals. 1 death was 1 less. Once the Desolation Demon General was killed first, it would be their turn next. If this continued, none of the 9 demon generals would be able to escape death in the end. Even though Lu Xiaoyu was eyeing them covetously from behind, constantly pressuring their nerves, they could not just sit and wait for death. Duo Yu and I will attack together. Let's see if Lu Xiaoyu will interfere. If he sits and does nothing, then our chances of killing Du Xiaofu will be higher. The Blood God Demon General thought for a moment and said. The 8 demon generals exchanged glances and then all agreed to this method. Then, the Blood God Demon General and Duo Yu Demon General moved together, charging towards Du Xiaofu. Save Desolation's primordial spirit. We can't let him die in Du Xiaofu's hands. As they moved forward, the Blood God Demon General said to Duo Yu Demon General in a deep voice. At the same time, he glanced at Lu Xiaoyu in the distance and realized that he really had no intention of interfering. Such a situation made the 8 demon generals all heave a sigh of relief. In a situation where Lu Xiaoyu did not make a move, the 2 demon generals would fight Du Xiaofu at the same time. They would not be easily killed. In this way, they would have more opportunities to counterattack. Once they succeeded, even if Lu Xiaoyu attacked in anger, it would be useless. Thinking of this, the 2 demon generals moved brazenly. With unparalleled power, they charged towards Du Xiaofu. They wanted to save the Desolation Demon General's primordial spirit before the purple-robed youth attacked again. Chapter 2961. Ming Luo Devil General, Qi Yen Devil General, Xiong Locust Devil General, and the others stopped in their tracks as they watched the Blood God Devil General and Duo Yu Devil General charge out. They'd thought it through by now. Since Lu Xiaoyu wasn't going to act against them and Du Xiaofu was going to hunt down the 9 of them alone, they would definitely not be defeated in a short time. So, they decided to stay and watch so that they could find an opportunity to kill Du Xiaofu. Father, those 2 devil generals have joined forces to deal with Martial Uncle Du. Do you want to interfere? Among the group of young people from the Lu clan, Lu Ro came to Lu Xiaoyu's side and looked at her father with her beautiful eyes. She knew that her martial Uncle Du's strength had improved greatly, but he'd only just stepped into the half-step Dao realm. Actually, because martial Uncle Du cultivated the 4 primordial laws at the same time, he might be slightly stronger than Uncle Yanghua and Aunt Xintong, but not by much. Facing the joint attack of 2 devil generals, Du Xiaofu might not be able to smoothly kill them. If that was the case, then there was no point in keeping these devil generals alive. There's no need to be anxious. Lu Xiaoyu stretched out his hand and rubbed his daughter's head when he heard her question. Your martial Uncle Du's strength is probably much stronger than you think. Besides that, he's just broken through and carved out his own Dao, but he's far from reaching perfection. He still needed more tempering, needed more comprehension. 2 devil generals attacking him at the same time isn't a bad thing. He'll definitely be able to deal with it. Lu Xiaoyu spoke with a smile on his face. Sister, don't worry. I'm confident in this matter. When it's time to act, I'll naturally interfere. The 9 devil generals are like turtles in a jar now, and they won't be able to cause much trouble. Lu Jingyun chimed in from the side. It was just as he'd said. With his father, Lu Xiaoyu, holding down the fort, no matter how strong the 9 devil generals were, they wouldn't be able to do anything. Their martial Uncle Du could fight 2 demon generals by himself, but he wouldn't lose. As for killing all 9 demon generals, there was no hurry. I'm already in the 15th layer of hell, and I'm not far from the 18th layer of hell. I'm really looking forward to seeing the devil ancestor's expression when he finds out that all of his devil generals have fallen. Long Fault suddenly laughed out loud as he said to the surrounding people. Hearing this, the others couldn't help but laugh. After so many years, the devil ancestor had made a comeback. Without Pangu, Exalted Celestial, and the other Dao veiling experts, he had the greatest advantage over the 33 heavens. Perhaps even Fiend Alpha did not expect the world to have a Lu Xiaoyu and a Du Xiaofu. These 2 people had become the greatest nightmare of the devil race. Under their leadership, the 33 heavens and the 3,000 boundless worlds had launched the most terrifying massacre of the devil race. Before Fiend Alpha completely recovered, everyone had enough confidence that they could make Fiend Alpha a loner, making the existence that dominated the ancient era and massacred the world feel resentful and angry. Next, let's watch martial Uncle Du's performance. Lu Yuxiao said with a smile. Then, everyone stopped talking and focused their gazes on Du Xiaofu. In another direction, the 7 demon generals were also looking over, their expressions grave. Under their gazes, Du Xiaofu stepped on the meridian, as if he was stepping on the lifeline of heaven and earth, as if he was stepping on the rhythm of the great Tao. His entire person carried an indescribable charm. He chased after the desolate fiend demon general's primordial spirit, wanting to cut it down with his sword. But in his eyes, the blood god demon general and Yu Duo demon general were also rushing over. Du Xiaofu didn't care about this. He continued to raise his sword and attack. A sword aura that reached the heavens and the earth shot out, brazenly slashing towards the desolate fiend demon general's primordial spirit. Du Xiaofu, don't you dare be so arrogant! The blood god demon general shouted from afar. His entire body emitted layers of crimson energy, with him as the center. From afar, it looked like a red cloud was flying over. In this boundless red cloud, there was a terrifying energy that could corrode everything. Kid, if you have the guts, fight the two of us. The Duo demon general's body was fleeting. Sometimes he was to the east, sometimes he was to the west, sometimes he was to the left, sometimes he was to the right. His figure was very difficult to grasp. It was extremely strange. But all of these actions were carried out with Du Xiaofu as the target. They were only waiting for the right time to strike. Seeing the two demon generals rushing over, Du Xiaofu snorted again. He ignored them and continued to attack the desolate fiend demon general's primordial spirit. The broadsword in his hand vibrated terrifyingly, releasing a dazzling light that swept towards the red primordial spirit. Save me! At this time, the desolate fiend demon general's heart was filled with fear. He couldn't help but scream. He was running for his life, but Du Xiaofu was like a ghost, following closely behind him, unwilling to give up. Seeing the blood god demon general and the Duo demon general coming for him, the desolate fiend demon general did not hesitate and rushed towards the two of them. He wanted to borrow their strength to temporarily shake off Du Xiaofu's pursuit. You won't be able to escape death today. Just accept your fate. Du Xiaofu snorted coldly. His sword turned quickly, domineering and swift. In an instant, it was behind the desolate fiend demon general's primordial spirit. Kid, don't be so arrogant. The blood god demon general roared. The blood on his body turned even redder, looking indescribably pitiful. He waved his arm and the red cloud around him began to swirl. It quickly turned into a terrifying blood-red light sword. This light sword contained the most murderous aura in the world, causing one's scalp to tingle. At this critical moment, the blood god demon general's light sword rushed out, blocking the path between Du Xiaofu's sword and the desolate fiend demon general's primordial spirit. You won't be able to save the people I want to kill. Du Xiaofu let out a cold laugh. He controlled the terrifying sword light to smash down, ruthlessly colliding with the blood god demon general's blood-red light sword. Chi. The two completely different forces began to violently mix and entangle with each other, canceling each other out. The void was instantly filled with boundless energy. Runes of the Great Tao flowed within, and there was also a trace of the power of the Great Tao surging. This was Du Xiaofu's own Tao. After easily blocking the blood god demon general's attack, Du Xiaofu was about to continue his pursuit of the desolate fiend demon general. But at this time, the Duo demon general attacked from another direction in an extremely ghostly manner, causing Du Xiaofu to be unable to deal with him at all. If he tried to kill the desolate fiend demon general, he would definitely be injured by the Duo demon general. But if he turned around and fought with the Duo demon general, the desolate fiend demon general's primordial spirit would take the opportunity to escape. At that time, it would be much more difficult to kill him. You dare to show off your insignificant skills. If it was in the past, I would definitely not be your opponent. But now, things have changed. Just based on the two of you, how can you stop me? Du Xiaofu's eyes were cold. They were like two sharp swords, carrying with them a deep murderous intent. The Duo demon general's movements were incomparably strange. But to the current Du Xiaofu, it was not too hard to imagine. The changes in the trajectories were all under his control. Du Xiaofu sneered. After glancing at the desolate fiend demon general's primordial spirit, who was fleeing in a hurry, he charged straight at the Duo demon general. Brat, come and fight. Seeing this scene, the Duo demon general let out a sigh of relief. With Du Xiaofu heading in his direction, the desolate fiend demon general's life could be considered saved. However, in the next moment, the Duo demon general's pupils suddenly shrank. Just as he let out a sigh of relief, he was suddenly lifted up again. Swish, swish, swish. The purple-robed youth, Du Xiaofu suddenly waved his arm. 9 shadows rushed out, growing in size with the wind. They were like 9 huge mountains, crushing the void. Rumble. These were 9 purple lightning profound cauldrons. They were incomparably ferocious and possessed the thickest aura. After Du Xiaofu broke through to the half-step Dao realm, he was pleasantly surprised to find that he could mobilize even more energy from the purple lightning profound cauldrons. When facing the Duo Yu demon general, he directly struck out with the 9 cauldrons, crushing the desolate fiend demon general's primordial spirit. Bastard! On the other side, the blood god demon general roared, but it was already too late. Du Xiaofu's move was simply too fast, catching him off guard. The Duo Yu demon general was also blocked by Du Xiaofu, and was unable to help the desolate fiend demon general. Rumble. The 9 divine lightning cauldrons whistled through the air, like 9 mountains that were about to move. An unparalleled aura was released, instantly imprisoning the void. Bolts of purple lightning fell from the sky like the 9 heavens, hanging in the sky. Every bolt of purple lightning that flowed out of the cauldrons caused the void to turn into chaos. The scene was incomparably terrifying. Run, run, run. Under the terrifying suppression of the 9 cauldrons, the desolate fiend demon general panicked to the extreme. The divine lightning gave him an unimaginable pressure, and the power of his primordial spirit was rapidly depleting. At this moment, the desolate fiend demon general only had one thought in his mind, and that was to escape, quickly escape. If he was a moment slower, with the power of the 9 cauldrons, his primordial spirit would be crushed to ashes in an instant. Run! The shadow of death shrouded the desolate fiend demon general's heart. He activated all the power in his primordial spirit and began to escape. However, the power of the 9 cauldrons was incomparably terrifying. How could the desolate fiend demon general, whose strength was greatly reduced and only had his primordial spirit left, escape? The 9 divine lightning cauldrons drew 9 strange trajectories. Under Du Xiaofu's control, they suppressed the desolate fiend demon general from all directions, sealing off every escape route. The purple lightning profound cauldrons that were as heavy as mountains were incomparably terrifying. When they released their aura, it was difficult to breathe. Subsequently, there was only a loud rumble. The 9 cauldrons collided with each other, presenting a chaotic scene. Heaven and earth seemed to have exploded, emitting a terrifying roar and trembling, almost collapsing. At the same time, the desolate fiend demon general's primordial spirit was also buried in the 9 cauldrons, and could not be seen. Such a scene had truly stunned the remaining 8 great demon generals. For a moment, everyone was speechless, and all of them stared at the position of the 9 cauldrons. Not long after, there was a few whooshing sounds, and the 9 cauldrons all flew away, charging towards Du Xiaofu again. But there was no longer the figure of the desolate fiend demon general on the spot. His primordial spirit seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Desolate fiend is dead. The Ming Luo demon general, the Crimson Flame demon general, the Fierce Locust demon general, the Luan Su demon general, the Fleeing Shadow demon general, and the Hun Mian demon general who were watching the battle from afar all stared with wide eyes, somewhat unable to accept this result. Du Xiaofu's strength made them so shocked that they wanted to die. He actually killed the desolate fiend demon general unexpectedly under the encirclement of 2 great demon generals, annihilating his body and primordial spirit, thoroughly dying. Damn Du Xiaofu! The Ming Luo demon general cursed. He stepped out lightly, wanting to go forward and join in the battle against Du Xiaofu. But all of a sudden he felt an ice-cold gaze sweep over him, causing Ming Luo demon general to feel boundless horror. His raised foot also instantly retracted in an instant. Lu Xiaoyu, the Crimson Flame demon general's entire body also tensed up, not daring to act rashly. That gaze just now was precisely from Lu Xiaoyu. With him present, it was really like a dream for everyone to want to swarm up to deal with Du Xiaofu. How can we, the 9 great demon generals, be so sullen? The Fierce Locust demon general gritted his teeth tightly. He was extremely resentful, but he was also extremely helpless. The 9 great demon generals had dominated the ancient times, and few people could stop them. But who would have thought that in this world after the ancient times, a small ant could actually kill them? The desolate fiend demon general became the first person to die, but his death also seemed to indicate the final outcome of the other 8 great demon generals. Such an outcome made them feel extremely sullen. They only hated that they were no longer at their peak. Otherwise, Du Xiaofu and Lu Xiaoyu would definitely die without a burial ground. At this time, the 6 demon generals watching the battle felt extremely miserable. They wanted to attack together to deal with Du Xiaofu, but when they thought of Lu Xiaoyu, who was watching covetously from the side, they could only give up and continue to wait for an opportunity. Uncle Master Du is using Uncle Lu's 9 purple lightning profound cauldrons. It's really powerful. On the other side, Long Su clicked his tongue in admiration, looking somewhat envious of Du Xiaofu. The 9 cauldrons were treasures. When Lu Xiaoyu was growing up in the early years, it was also a great killing weapon. Now that Du Xiaofu was controlling it, the power it could unleash was also extraordinary. According to Father, the 9 cauldrons weren't too strong back then. But under Uncle Lu's refinement, they naturally reached a higher level. Now that Uncle Master Du's cultivation has improved greatly, of course the 9 cauldrons are terrifying. Beside Long Su, Long K said with a smile. Hearing this, Lu Xiaoyu nodded lightly and didn't say anything. The 9 purple lightning profound cauldrons were indeed refined by him, and he also placed some restrictions on them. In the end, they were left in the divine martial world, prepared for Du Xiaofu. Under Lu Xiaoyu's arrangement, as Du Xiaofu's strength continued to increase, the 9 cauldrons would gradually gain more extraordinary power. The power it could unleash could reach the level of a normal Chaos Dao instrument. With Du Xiaofu's current cultivation, this was the time to unleash the full power of the cauldrons. With these 9 cauldrons, the Yu Qing Divine Emperor can easily fight against 3 demon generals, let alone 2. A meditative realm elder from the 33 heavens couldn't help but be speechless and exclaim. Fighting against 3 demon generals alone, that kind of power was terrifying enough. It was almost on par with the dragon god. Even though all of this could only be done with the help of external forces, not everyone had external forces to rely on. Du Xiaofu, I will tear you apart. Just as everyone was discussing, the blood god demon general let out another terrifying roar. He held a giant sword in his hand, and bloody light shot up into the sky. It looked like it was made of fresh blood, and its murderous aura exploded. Kill Demon General Duo Yu shouted as well. His entire body was filled with an unconcealable aura. His body floated as he approached Du Xiaofu again and again. The 2 of them displayed their best abilities in an attempt to kill Du Xiaofu. Next, I will send the 2 of you on your way. Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened, and his words were chilling. The broadsword in his hand slashed through the air, and ray after ray of sword light shot out. At the same time, the 9 purple lightning cauldrons were also summoned by him. They crushed the void and carried the power of thousands of pounds as they headed towards the 2 demon generals. One has to admit that Du Xiaofu, who had summoned the 9 purple lightning cauldrons, was far too terrifying. The restrictions of the 9 cauldrons were lifted, and they possessed the most powerful energy. They were completely suppressing the 2 demon generals. It wasn't hard for him to sense that the 9 purple lightning cauldrons were at a level that was far more terrifying than a true treasure of the laws. If that's the case, then they are truly Taoist instruments. Senior Brother's bloody sword should also be a Taoist instrument of the chaos level. The 9 cauldrons are not as good as the bloody sword, but they are not that far off. Du Xiaofu muttered in his heart. A ray of sword light forced the blood god demon general back, leaving a charred wound on his body. At the same time, under the pressure of the 9 purple lightning cauldrons, the ghostly duo Yu demon general was forced to reveal himself and fight. Under his suppression, how could the 2 demon generals have any extra resistance? After a few hundred rounds, the duo Yu demon general was hit by a purple lightning cauldron, and he spat out a mouthful of demon blood. On the other side, the blood god demon general's bloody body was cut by the sharp sword light. His left arm was also cut off. It was indescribably tragic. Du Xiaofu fought with all his strength. 1 against 2, he suppressed the 2 demon generals. And in the end, the blood god demon general was slashed down from the sky by his sword, falling from the sky. The duo Yu demon general was also surrounded by the 9 cauldrons and was crushed into a pile of meat. Not all of them are dead? Looking at the situation of the 2, Du Xiaofu said coldly, his eyes like lightning. His figure rushed out, and at the same time, the sword light in his hands slashed vertically. Accompanied by a whistling sound, the bodies of the 2 demon generals were cut into pieces. Their flesh and blood flew everywhere, and their primordial spirits were also killed. They couldn't be more dead. At this time, Du Xiaofu was like a demon god that slaughtered the heavens and slaughtered the earth. He revealed his extremely cruel side and was incomparably terrifying. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.